Arcane Ninja RPG tells a story about ninjas and magic by mixing improv and role-playing. Meet our fledgling ninja and fall for them as they take their graduation exam and stumble upon unknown magic that will send them in an epic adventure. Root for them as the dice dictate just how successfully they face the threatening challenges that lay ahead. Binge on published episodes at the Pod Cavern Network or your podcast station of choice. Tune in every other Tuesday for your bi-weekly fix of Arcane Ninja RPG. Thanks for listening!
Hey everyone, I'm Tom.
I'm Brad.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Sam.
And we are the Pixar Pals, or you might know us as
Disney Dummies.
Oh boy, welcome back, super friends, to Pixar Pals Cross Disney Dummies, the show where we go through all of the Pixar chronological movie theatrical releases in order from Toy Story till now, which we're catching up. I know like the last few episodes we're catching up, but like honestly, we're fucking catching up. We're like, I'm a little concerned how because this movie that we're about to talk about feels very recent to me.
2018.
I know, it's 2018.
Yeah.
Hey,
but also a really long time ago. I don't know, both at the same time.
The pandemic threw everything, of course,
sure.
about
Time means nothing anymore.
But, our last movie that we watched was Coco, and that was a pretty good movie. But this movie, I think, is pretty incredible, too.
Oh, boy.
It's Incredibles,
See,
too.
I made the opposite joke all week. I kept telling people, I'm going to watch The Incredibles tonight. I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah. I saw you trying to make that joke the other day.
It didn't land. It didn't land.
It took them too long to piece together that the movie was called Incredibles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have made that more clear up front.
It's okay. You can practice all your Pixar bits on air right now, because we're going to be talking about Incredibles 2 for the next 2 hours? No, I don't think so. We'll see how it ends.
It's going to be a tight 90. Tight 90.
We'll see.
We'll see.
This movie was like 2 hours, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was like an hour 58 or 2 hours 1 or something like that.
Hey, how about we talk about some nostalgia? Because I actually have some for this one, but I'm curious about, let's say, Brad's nostalgia.
Well, my nostalgia, I am pretty sure this was one that Sam and I saw in theaters together after we started dating, because Coco came out just before. This was the first one. I remember being pretty pumped for it at the time. I mean, I'm on record on the podcast about how much I liked the first Incredibles. So I was pretty pumped for Brad Bird to be coming back.
Yeah,
I mean,
Brad, we talked about how that was like an event movie, but it was controversial, so it never it never got the spot on.
Because it has to be unanimous.
It never got the stamp.
It never got the stamp, but anyways, continue.
Did it not?
No, it didn't. No.
No, I don't think I gave. I think you and I held back, Sam.
You and
I know,
Laura were
okay.
all poo-pooing.
But do we
seems silly.
do we discuss whether this is? Or do we
let's
save
hold
it?
off for
We'll
a
hold
second.
it.
I want to hear more about Brad's. I interrupted him. Continue, Brad.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, this was Brad Bird coming off of, he did Mission Impossible at this point, and I think he'd also done Tomorrowland, which was kind of a miss.
Which mission was that? The Ghost Protocol one or the other one?
Yes,
Ghost
the
Protocol?
Dubai building one. Yeah,
Right.
which was pretty dope. So I feel like Brad
Bird.
Bird was pretty hot, and then he was coming back to do Incredibles 2. So I was pretty pumped. I don't know, I can't remember how pumped Sam was, but it was most likely me that was like, we gotta go see this. And I remember some stuff blowing me away. Well, I'll obviously save my thoughts on it for after, but that's my nostalgia. Was I was very excited. We rewatched the trailer after the movie, and I was like, oh man, this trailer probably got me fucking pumped.
Oh, I
back
should
in
have watched the
day.
trailer for that,
It
man.
was pretty good, yeah.
Brad, as a big fan of Brad Bird, would you say you're a member of the Bird Herd?
No.
Did you make this joke
We
before?
don't call ourselves
I'm like, I want the listeners to go back to the Incredibles 1 episode and just see if Laura made that joke. Because
Tongue, that's what we call a throwback. Tongue, that's what we call a throwback.
A callback, you mean?
tongue. That's what we call a callback.
Yeah.
I'm having deja vu right now.
Brad Bird is pretty great, though. I mean, there's only so many directors that have made the jump from animation to live action. Tim Burton was another one. And I think
back to animation after again.
And then back to animation.
He's all over
yeah.
the place and then
I
integrated.
think they were in the same class or year together at Cal Arts, which is pretty crazy. A lot of talent.
What a year.
That was A113. That's their year is the one.
Was that Glenn Keane as well?
No, he's
Oh yeah, he'd be
Disney.
before them.
He's like older than that.
Yeah,
he's OG now.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Old guy. He's old. Ancient even. No. Sam, your nostalgia.
Sam.
Yeah, Sam, sorry.
I think I was excited. Like, I also did like the first one. I don't think I was excited as Brad. And I think I was probably like a little, I don't know what the right word is, skeptical, hesitant. Sequels always have me a little iffy, I feel like, from the get-go. And I feel like that trailer, it was cool action stuff, but as listeners probably gather from me, I'm not the like cool action person. I'm the like story and heartfelt stuff.
Oh, do you like
person.
feelings, Sam?
I like feelings. So I was excited. Obviously, how could you not? I remember this being marketed and everyone was like, oh my God, like kids hold my beer or whatever. Like, I've been waiting forever for this kind of thing. Because it's a long, I forget what year Incredibles 1 was, but this is quite a bit after.
14 years.
Do any of you have it?
14
years.
14.
That's a long time
Pretty wild.
between. Like, that's insane, which is why I feel like I was like cautiously optimistic because when that much, I don't know, So, and Pixar's sequels, minus Cars 2, which we don't talk about, most of the Pixar sequels like hit at least a bit, right? So I feel like I was like cautiously cromulently optimistic. So that's my nostalgia.
Cool. Laura, how about yourself?
Yeah, I remember being pretty pumped about this movie despite the fact that I wasn't like a super fan of The Incredibles. I really enjoyed the movie, but I never really went back to watch it in the way that I did like Toy Story or Finding Nemo or others. Wally. But my biggest memory of this movie when it came out is the seizure stuff. How like that one scene induced seizures in some audience members.
Well, mostly because, and I'll talk about like, because we have the same nostalgia here,
Yeah.
which is because they put out a notice like probably like a day or two after the movie came out, and they're like, oh shit, we got to warn people about this. So as you're entering the theater, there's like it was on just like a piece of paper, like a printed piece of paper, but they're like, watch out, this movie can cause seizures.
Yeah.
Which is crazy that they didn't consider that when they made the movie.
I know.
Like, because I do remember
Watching
that now.
that scene, I was like, oh my
And when I was
God.
watching it, I was like, man, I wonder if this causes, like, mess people up.
I think it just
for
shows
sure.
like the importance of diversity and inclusion and in staffing and in like getting perspectives and that sort of thing, because that's just like a life experience that you either have or you don't have, right? And so the more people you include and the more diverse voices you have at the table, the more likely it is
Do
to
you
catch that
think
kind of stuff.
that, like today, we catch these things, because I feel like there was a movie recently that maybe had one. I don't know if it was Turtles or something else, but like I feel like it's something that like we like in animation, like when we're making shows, I feel like I've been on shows where they're like, okay, we can't do this because it's like too stroby or too like whatever.
Well, we have
so
a test
I feel like
that we run.
Yeah. There's a test.
It's called the Harding test, and so
That's
we run the episodes through this like program, and then it flags any like potential frames that might cause a seizure.
So do they not do that with feature film is my question. Like, how did this like slip
No,
by?
Brad
But is
Bird,
that-
it went through the test, and Brad Bird's like, no, we need this scene. It has to happen.
Is that something that you did like pre-Incredibles 2 or something that you've been doing since that movie
I think
came out?
like
Interesting.
I'd heard of it a long time ago.
Okay.
And like I did a little personal animation and I put it on Reddit and some people came at me and were like, you should have a warning on this. And I was like, oh, I hadn't considered it. I'm sorry. And it wasn't even like that crazy. I was like, I don't know if this, okay.
I wonder if it also makes a difference seeing it on the big screen. Like I have no idea, but like small versus big and sitting in the dark with the flashes maybe makes a big difference.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I imagine with lights on is going to have a different impact or different effect than with lights off. Like in the space you're sitting in.
Laura, do you have any more nostalgia to go with that?
I could not have told you a single element of the plot of this movie before watching it for the second time. Like I had no memory of it other than some visuals of that one scene. I remember liking it, maybe not as much as I liked the first one, and then basically forgetting about it.
Yeah, okay, so I'll go into my nostalgia, which ties
Please.
in a lot with Laura's. Okay, so my nostalgia with it was that, yeah, I was pretty excited for it. Especially, I was very curious because this came at a time when Marvel movies were at its height. Like, very, very high stuff. Like, I'm looking it up right now. We're looking at Black Panther in 2018. We're looking at Avengers Infinity War in 2018.
Woo!
And Ant-Man and the Wasp, which, you know, is not as high caliber as the other ones, but I like that movie fine.
Better than Quantumania.
Absolutely. So, like, there's, like, Marvel's hidden right now. So, to me, it's like, okay, you have Brad Bird, the guy who essentially made the superhero genre in a way that's really digestible to the mainstream audience, and, like, you're, like, really invested in these characters because they're good characters and they're not just punchy, fast stuff going on. So it was interesting to me at the time to be like, okay, how does this guy who basically revolutionized a lot of what we know in superheroes, what does he have to say now, 14 years later? So I was really excited about that. And I remember watching this movie and I remember liking it, but much like the other Pixar sequels that we got, like Finding Dory, like Monsters University, it's like I forgot about it very quickly. That's what ended up happening was like, I just like, it just started fading from memory, even though I was just like in the back of my head, I'm like, I like these movies, but would I rather go back and watch the sequel again, or do I want to watch the older ones? And it was always, the answer was the older ones. But the movie itself, like, I also forgot most of what was happening. I just remembered that it was like very Elastigirl centric, which we're going to get into. So let's get into it now. Brad, take us away with the summary.
Yeah, okay. Well, hold on to your butts because there's a lot going on in this movie. So settle in.
And lots of butt. Lots
Yeah.
of butt.
So much butt.
Lots of butts. So I'll try to speed through what I can, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. So okay, so we open up the movie. We got the Incredibles themed Disney logo with all the spy music with the ba-da-da-da.
I liked it
stuff going over
instantly because
top.
of the stylized like castle was like already fun to me.
Yeah, that's
that was
super
cool.
like modern 60s futuristic style, bringing it back from the first movie. Very cool artistic
He's got
take. I like
style.
it. Yeah. So yeah, we open up and we're in a dark room with Agent Rick Dicker from the last movie, and he's interrogating Tony, who was the potential boyfriend of Violet from the last movie. So we're basically starting off more or less where we left off. He's interrogating this little kid, and Tony's telling him about the Underminer, who was from the end of the last movie, which I kind of like that they more or less pick up right away. That's kind of fun. So Tony's giving his recollection or what he saw during the events of the Underminer attack. The Underminer is giving a speech like he was at the end of the last movie, but now we're seeing it from Tony's perspective. And he's like running away, hiding, hides under a car, and the Incredible family is like running by and they're being all super heroic and having their little family banter like they always do. Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl run off to fight Underminer, and Dash zips off to go. I kept calling him Flash in my notes, and I was like, his name's not Flash.
That's
Dash.
me, Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
His full name's like
and-
Dashiell or something.
Dashiell.
Dashiell?
Oh, really?
Yeah, they say it once in the movie. I'm like, Dashiell? That's
Oh, I didn't catch that. That's
why?
That's an interesting choice.
Why not?
So in the kerfuffle of everything going along, Violet's like all pissed because Dash took off, left her with Jack, takes off her mask, throws it on the ground. And the whole time Tony's like, I feel like I recognize that voice. And so he sees Violet without the mask, knows it's her, and he runs off because he's just like, he doesn't know what to do. And then we go back to Agent Dicker interrogation. Tony, I do like this moment. Tony's very adamant that he has no problem with female superheroes. He's very secure in his manlyhood. It's not an issue for him. He just wishes he could forget that Violet is a superhero. And Agent Dicker's like, no problemo. Shoots him in the head with, what are those? They're like kind of those toy gun darts sort of thing. And
Wasn't it like a
zaps his
Nerf gun?
memory.
Wasn't it like a laser like sight thing that happened? Oh, it was like, and then the suction cup comes out or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a suction cup dart, but it's like the old school, I guess, from the 60s, where it's like a stick with like the suction on the end
Looks
versus
like a
the Nerf
plunger.
gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he
Why would
gets.
he have to say that I'm sorry, going back to that though, where he's like, I don't have a problem with girl. Like, I don't know. Why would you even need to say it? Like, we already have Incredible Girl. Like, we know people. Like, are we supposed to assume you're gonna have a problem with a girl superhero? I don't know.
He's being like, I don't care that you're a
Yeah, but
superhero.
you
He
shouldn't
still
have to
likes
say
her.
it.
I think it's
I
like
don't
one of
know.
those lines that are supposed to be like, I don't know what
Look
it
at
is.
me,
Like,
I'm so progressive.
yeah, but also like
Yeah,
the movie as a
basically.
whole is like,
It's
yeah,
what we call a virtue signal.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
guess.
there's times in this movie where it feels like it's trying to be progressive in a few ways,
Yeah.
which and when you watch it in 2024, it's like those were the seeds of like progressiveness for sure, but nowadays it comes off a little, I don't know, hokey. I don't know.
I think it came up hokey at the time.
I don't even remember it happening at the time, so I don't know.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, his memory gets presumably zapped, and then Incredibles 2 logo spins towards the camera.
Whoa.
And that's how you know you're watching Incredibles 2.
Because otherwise.
You wouldn't have known otherwise.
You're watching the first one for all you know.
So then we go back to Underminer. So now we're kind of seeing it.
Underminer, I hardly know her.
All right, we're like 2 minutes into this movie.
So sorry. I'm so sorry, Brett.
This is going to be the longest thing ever. All right, so we're with Mr. Incredible. He's like riding this Underminer's digging machine, whatever you want to call it.
Drill.
He's mining under the ground, and Mr. Incredible is there. And right away, I did notice the camera was in like a much more dynamic location than the previous movie as much. Like you're right over his shoulder, rocks are flying by you. It's very dynamic, which there's more shots that I'll get into about that later. So yeah, they're below ground. The Underminer gets to a bunch of banks, or there's a bunch of holes, and he sets up all these explosions. This whole bank falls down. Doesn't just like demolish the bank, which is amazing. He grabs his giant hose, starts sucking up all the money. Mr. Incredible sneaks up behind him, and he turns around, and Mr. Incredible gets sucked into the hose as well, into like the tank where all the money's going. Mr. Incredible busts out of there, and then they start fighting. But Underminer is a slippery little devil, and he manages to escape. And then Mr. Incredible is stuck in one of the mining cart things, or the drill thing, and it's out of control, and it busts up out of the ground, and now it's like rampaging through the city. This is where we get our first Frozone sighting of the movie.
I know we wee-ooed him in the first movie, but we gotta wee him again. Like Frozone's
agree.
so good. He's so good.
So
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
do it then.
Frozone. I mean, like, and also like we'll talk about like more of the animation stuff too, but like his ice now looks so fucking good. Like in the first movie, it's like, yeah, it's ice and like it looks good, but now it's like, oh my god, like things like Frozen have come out since, you know, like they really mastered what.
And he's so powerful.
I know, he's so strong.
Like, man, he's such a good one to have on your team.
It just looks so good. He's so charismatic, and anytime he's on screen, I'm like, hell yeah, Frozone's here.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. And yeah, his powers look super dope. Which, yeah, there's obviously some cool scenes later that we'll get into. So yeah, this whole section after, well, even including Frozone, we get kind of in a way, I kind of saw it as a montage where they're kind of reminding everybody what people's powers are. So you got like Dash zipping around and saving an old lady. You got Violet like throwing shields, and they were like slicing rocks in half,
Her force
which is pretty
fields.
cool.
Yeah,
her force field, so she can do all that. Obviously, you get Elastigirl like zipping around, being all elastic style, Mr. Incredibles. So yeah, a lot of really cool action stuff going on, but I saw this more as like everybody's getting their moment where they get to show a little bit of what they can do. So eventually managed to stop the mine thing that was careening out of control by working together, of course, because they're a family from the last movie now. So they all work together and they stop it. But the cops are not happy with them. They think they're going to be like praised for saving the day, but they're pretty much arrested. Frozone gets the heck out of there. And as Frozone is getting away, he's stopped by a limo, or I guess it's not a limo, it's just like a black car. And this dude in like a suit gets out, who's clearly like the who's the guy, the chauffeur of the car.
Chauffeur.
And he talks to Frozone, and he's basically like, yo, what do you think of the no superhero rule? want to do something about it? And then that kind of cuts away, and we're left being like, what is going on? So we go back to the Incredibles with the cops. Cops are pretty damn pissed.
Do we ever see that guy again? I was just thinking, like,
The chauffeur
guy. No. Do we see him again?
Briefly.
Well, we do?
He shows up. Yeah, it's I don't even know if he has another line. I feel like he just kind of like is there.
Yeah, I feel like it's anyways, it just feels weird to me to like have that character say something so crucial to the rest of the film and then just not be there anymore.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just have like Winston like roll down the window or something.
Yeah.
They could have easily done
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
So yeah, the cops or the detectives, I guess at this point, are drilling Bob and Helen, who are Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl, about how much damage they caused. They caused a lot of damage. And they tell them it would have been better if they hadn't done anything at all. There are regulations and rules in place that the money from the bank is covered by insurance. This would have been done, that would have been done. Like, things would have been fine if they just left everything alone. But now people's livelihoods are at stake. There's damage everywhere, people potentially injured. So they're just like, what are you guys doing? Like, just don't do anything. And that would have been better. So on the way home, they let them go because Agent Dicker's there. He gets them out of trouble. And on the drive home, Violet tells Bob about Tony and how I really don't like the name Tony. It reminds
Ridinger.
It reminds me of Iron Man. I feel like there's like a meme of the first Iron Man where he's like, Tony. Anyway.
It's a hot take to say that I think Tony's a wiener.
Like, no, that's not a hot take.
He's such a wiener. Anyways, I just had to say that.
With his turtleneck.
I know. Don't get me
started. So, yeah, she tells Bob about Tony. In turn, while they're leaving, Bob mentions to Agent Dicker that Tony might have seen her and knows that she's a hero. So he's like, I'll check it out. And that's what we saw in the beginning. It's all coming full circle. So Agent Dicker tells Bob that like they're shutting down the program. I feel like from the first movie, they're in this sort of superhero relocation program where they're kind of undercover and the Agent Dicker's always moving them around and covering up their mess, all like funded by government or CIA or something. But they're shutting it down. They don't want any of that anymore. So Bob's obviously just like, shit, we gotta do something because they're held up in this hotel that's being paid for by them and they don't have jobs. So they're gonna have to figure something out. So they're having their family dinner and they're talking about everything that happened with the Underminer. The kids want to help more, but the parents like do superhero stuff, I mean. But Bob and Helen are like, no, that's illegal. You can't do that. And then as they're all talking, Bob and Helen start like getting into it a little bit because Bob is still very much like, I want to do superhero stuff. I want to save the day. And Helen's like, that's against the law. We can't be doing that. Got to follow the law. What are we teaching our kids?
This is a really interesting debate, actually.
Like doing the right thing.
Can you continue?
So it's like this idea of like, what do we value as a family? Is it challenging the status quo, or is it like supporting others by following the status quo? And I don't think there's a right answer.
And I feel like there's nuance because they're also talking about like raising their family. Like on one hand, she could be talking about like fighting the law and this and that, but also it's like at the end of the day, she just wants him to be there and around for the family, or at least that was where they left off in the first one, which literally just happened. And he was like, yes, I'm going to be with the family more, but immediately is like, but I still want to be a superhero. Did you learn nothing, Bob?
It just made me think of
that made me frustrated as well.
It made me think of the Segovia Accords and like the Avengers dividing into two camps of like oversight versus no government oversight and that sort of thing.
Talking about Captain America Civil War now?
Yes.
Different movie.
Different movie. Just maybe a cultural reference. I don't know.
No, I get it.
Yeah, no, it's a good discussion. And I feel like, it's kind of stems from the first movie as well. It dealt a lot with this. And yeah, it's kind of continuing through as a through line for the whole Incredibles universe. Like, are heroes good? Are they bad? Do they do more damage than
they're worth?
Than good? Yeah. After dinner, so they end the dinner. It's pretty heated. They end the dinner and Bob and Helen are chilling around the hotel pool, discussing the future because Bob's like, well, I got to get like a job then. Like, we're going to be out of the hotel in, I think he says 2 weeks or something like that. So they need money so they can get a job because they're basically on their own now. And then this is when Frozone shows up and tells them about the guy that stopped him. I don't know if he mentions the company at this point, which was...
maybe he does. Doesn't he have like a card?
DevTech?
Yeah, he has a card. Yeah.
He's got a card, and I think he like tells them about DevTech. And he's like, there's this guy there that likes superheroes and he wants to talk to us, meet us basically tonight. So he's like, you guys, if you want to come, you got to suit up and let's do this. So Bob and Helen get suited up, ditch the kids. They're kind of like, oh, we're going out, but they're clearly wearing their superhero uniforms underneath. And they go and meet up with Frozone to go see Winston Depper is who it is when they come in and he
Dever?
introduces himself.
Dever.
Dever? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I heard Depper. I might say Depper a few times.
Dev Tech. That makes sense. Okay.
That's all I'm gonna get there.
Like Endeavor. Like Evel
Oh,
Endeavor.
yeah.
Huh. This is
Voiced
a big
by
stretch
Bob
here.
Odenkirk.
Yeah, Bob
as well.
Odenkirk for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
he did.
even looks like Bob Odenkirk.
It does look
Yeah.
kind of like him. Like, just the mannerisms and the way he talks is like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is totally him.
Yeah. Winston is like very excited to see. He's like fanboying all over the three of them. He knows all their theme songs. He's like singing them. He's just like a little kid around them. And then his sister Evelyn shows up. He introduces her to them. They all meet and then they start talking about their father. Winston tells them about how big of a fan of superheroes his father was. And he even had a direct line to Gazer Beam from his house. It was like a red phone or something. And he could just directly call Gazer Beam.
Is
And,
Gazer Beam gay? Is that the joke? Or is it just because they live together? I was like, is this gay representation in Gazer Beam?
Oh, I didn't. I thought, isn't he from the first movie?
Yeah, isn't he the one who like
yeah, he is.
dies in the first movie?
And I think
He's the
I
one-
asked about this in the first movie too. And I don't know where we landed on him, but in this one I feel like he's like living with another guy.
Didn't Gazerbeam die? Isn't he the one that they found like the skull of him or like skeleton
Yeah.
in him of like in the what I'm talking about, Brad?
Yeah.
But the story of the dad with the phone would be before.
Before that
Yeah,
happens.
so he was
Okay.
still alive.
But that's the same guy.
All right.
It's the same guy.
Okay, same guy. Well,
guy.
okay.
I mean,
In my
you're-
head, he's gay and living with his boyfriend, and
That-
it's
yeah,
cute,
that
and
can
I love that his
definitely
name
be
is
Sam
Gazer
Cam.
Beam.
Is because it has gay in the name? Is that
And because he lives with this guy, I think.
okay? That's fair.
Their
That-
dad?
No. There was another
different
guy.
guy.
There's
That's
another
all.
guy. I missed that part. I think.
Yeah, I missed that as well.
Well,
Basically-
hang on. So do we Wii U Gazerbeam then? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I Wii U Gazer Beam.
A character we barely know anything more about in this movie? Yeah, let's do it.
Nice. Gotta get some Wii U's in there.
Oh, absolutely.
Winston tells the heroes that are there about the night that his dad or some burglars are breaking into the dad's house, and the dad was like, "No problemo, I'm gonna just ring up Gazer Beam and he'll run right over here." But the line didn't go through. Gazer Beam didn't pick up, and when the burglars came around, they saw the dad on the phone, thinking he was calling the cops, and they shot him, and he died. But the mom wanted to go into hiding or like go into their safe room or whatever, but the dad was like, no, heroes will save us. So because of this, Winston wants to bring superheroes back to the forefront so they can help save more people because they didn't get to save his dad. And Winston, so then they go into this little room. Winston gives them this presentation about how they're going to redo their image. I don't think I mentioned, but this is kind of like a marketing company, I think, of sorts. DevTech, I think they like come up with inventions, or the sister, I think it's around here that we find out the sister does a lot of the inventing and he does a lot of the marketing business side. So they're a pretty big company. And this is kind of them being like, we're going to market you heroes and we're going to like turn the public's opinion.
It's like
we're going to
all
do
about perception. That type of thing. Yeah.
perception and body cams. So they want to put body cams on the superheroes.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I know. As soon as it was happening, I was like, "Oh, body cams! Are the superheroes cops? Are we supposed to?"
I think so.
this?
I think in that,
Yeah.
right? I think so.
So are cops good or bad? Is that now the thesis of the movie? You know what?
Well, I don't think
that's
that's.
more when I joke.
I don't think that was it. I think they were just saying it makes them accountable so they can show the good that the heroes are doing.
Yeah. But it's hard not to think of body cams without thinking
Yeah.
about cops.
I was thinking how like the body cams is like who's reviewing the footage? Just the people back at DevTech, I guess. Or if they
guess.
need to release a clip that like whatever. I'm just thinking like if you're a superhero, a lot of your work is done not just incognito but also like stealth. right? So like if your stuff is always being recorded and then like being released to the public, I feel like you can like as a supervillain make a pattern of like how this hero reacts to what situation and all this other stuff. It feels
I think
like
it
it's
would
just
be more so like dev tech because they're all about sales and like perception, right?
No,
so
yeah,
they
absolutely.
take like the best bits and release them to the public.
I guess I was just future thinking as a supervillain. It'd be like, oh, okay, like if I was a supervillain, I would break into the place that is recording all
see.
this footage, take it, make some sort of algorithm that like makes me know exactly what the hero is gonna do because I've seen all the footage. I'd make a great supervillain, guys.
An exhausting approach.
That is definitely a thing that a villain would do.
And because I think they mentioned it's like a closed circuit thing, so you can't just like the videos are only stored in one place, and so you'd have to go into dev tech and like take them all out as a supervillain. Very
I could
mastermind.
fucking do it. I could do it.
So basically the whole idea is that Winston wants to make superheroes legal again. He wants to bring them back, and he thinks, and I feel like it almost like pans across, and he thinks the best person to put at the forefront of this effort is not Mr. Incredible, it's Elastigirl. And everybody's like, what? Elastigirl? And she's like, what?
But she's a woman.
Because Mr. Incredible is all about saving shit. So Mr. Incredible, they're like, you're too destructive. You cause way more harm than it's worth. Like, we need somebody that's like diligent and very systematic in how they accomplish their tasks. And that's Elastigirl, which I feel like we also got from the first movie is that she's basically better at it than Bob. But Bob, like,
She's
strong arms his way
smarter.
through. Yeah.
All that stuff.
More
yeah.
responsible.
More responsible. Big
Yes.
butt.
There's already been a lot of big butts in this.
Were you her again?
I was
Like,
waiting. I didn't know when to do it. Probably when they
Yeah.
show the Elasticycle, I guess, and her new outfit. But
Yeah, I was gonna say I do think I noted it when she comes out in her new outfit.
Elastigirl Fox. We know this. We already knew this from
We
the
all
first
know
movie.
this.
In the
But
first
they
movie, she literally
they
fucks.
knew this.
Yeah, they knew this.
And they like amped it up hardcore in this movie. I
Oh,
feel like every shot of her walking away is like, okay, but
It's because the animators that watched the original one when they were younger were now animating on this one.
Yeah.
And they were like, I'm gonna lean into this.
Tiny waist, big butt, lots of stretchy stuff. But she's still badass. She's still badass.
Oh, yeah.
They're just
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit.
Super badass.
I say a little bit, but they're way more egregious about it this time
Oh
around.
my God.
Yeah, for sure. But she still fucks.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it kind of ends with Helen being like, I don't know about this. And then it kind of cuts to the next thing. And they're kind of talking about it in their hotel room, I think it is. Bob, they're arguing about it again, whether or not she should do it. He really wants her to do it because then he will hopefully get to do it. So he's very much kind of like trying to work through her to get what he wants. But Helen's still not sure. So Bob frames the whole situation as basically just like, look, either you start to do this or I have to find a job in like 2 weeks or we're homeless, which, I mean, I feel like he could find a job, but okay. So
Also, do
she's
they
like,
not have any savings?
they're just superhero all the time, I
What
guess.
happened to their house? Oh, it got destroyed.
It
Didn't
got destroyed. Yeah.
Got destroyed.
Guess they
But
didn't have
also,
insurance.
he made a lot of money for a short period of time, right? When he was working
Oh, yeah.
for what's her face or the In Syndrome and stuff like that. Right?
Mirage.
Yeah.
Maybe the government takes it all as like, because they're putting them up and like
Assets
covering
are
their
frozen.
asses.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Yeah. So yeah, Bob's like, you got to do this. Like, I'll stay home, take care of the kids. I'll do the home dad life. Like, you just get out there, start heroing. You do your thing, save people. And I think at this point she's like, all right, I'll do it. Like, if you're sure you got this, he's like, I got this. So then she's basically accepted. Winston's given them this bitchin' house that they now go to. So they're leaving the hotel. They go to this like mansion. It's really cool looking that I think Sam's background is right now, perhaps. It's huge. It's got a bunch of secret exits. It's got buttons for Dash to push. Floors are opening up. Waterfalls are coming down. Couches are getting destroyed. when
Okay,
floors
I was gonna
close up
say,
again.
like, for such an expensive house, like the design of it seems so not well thought out that a child can press a few buttons and make the couch go into the water. Like, what's that about? How did the people placing the furniture not think about that? Seems crazy.
I think this is a house that a child was never supposed to step foot in, is the vibe I got. This is like some rich bachelor that's just like, no child will ever come on this property.
Only I know the buttons. Only I get the
Yeah.
remote controller. Okay, I see.
Yeah. So yeah, they're having a good time. Dash is pushing all the shit. House is baller. Now this is where we get the reveal of Elastigirl's new baller dark and gray suit with the super wide hips and tiny waist, looking pretty intense. And this is where we also get the electric motorcycle, or the, what is it called?
Elasticycle, I think. Elasticycle.
Wee wee.
Yeah, this bike fucks for sure.
Yeah, the bike does fuck. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
The bike is so cool. So then, yeah, Winston. So she's got her sweet ass bike. Winston takes her.
Sweet ass bike. Sorry.
I didn't even notice.
So, we're going to talk a lot about butts in this episode. I'm sorry in advance.
Yeah, so I don't think she rides it at this point. I think she kind of like putts around the garage, and she's like, "Oh, it's like it's got a lot of throttle at the start 'cause it's electric or whatever." So we don't really get to see her ride it yet, but it's a cool bike. So then she's in the chopper with Winston now. We kind of cut to that. They're flying. I forget what the name of the city was. It was basically like New Big City.
Yeah, I don't
something
know.
like that.
Some
Doesn't matter.
Municeburg.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
Or did you make that up?
No, I'm pretty sure that's it.
Okay.
We'll go with that then. So yeah, big city with big crime, he says. This is where we got to go. So they're flying in, they're doing their thing. There's going to be a lot of cutting back and forth here between Helen and Bob now. So we're back to Bob. We're getting to see him handling the family. Seems to be doing okay so far. It's only been like, I don't know, an hour, but he seems to be like he's doing okay. And then we're back with Helen. We're waiting around on her bike, waiting for some crime to happen. She starts reminiscing about the last movie where she was getting Bob in trouble, or yelling at Bob for being on police scanners, waiting for crime. And now she's waiting for crime. Wow, how the turntables, huh? So she's sticking around, waiting for crime, and Bob is helping Dash with his math. And this is a pretty iconic line, I think, where he's like, "Math is math, math is math." Because they changed math, which I didn't realize. And one of our friends is a teacher, and then she was, this was like a while ago, like years ago, but she was like, "Yeah, they changed math, and now you like do it differently. Like, the way that, like how you do the multiplications or whatever, like the way you lay it out and write it.
That's different?
Oh, yeah. You use
Yeah,
your
it's like
fingers
differently
sometimes.
done now. Yeah.
I don't like that.
Because math is math. Why would you change it? So Bob seems to be starting to have a little bit of a hard time with the kids, because he's not really able to help Dash with his homework. I think Dash is like, maybe I'll just wait till Mom gets home and ask her for help. And then we're back with Helen. She heard on the scanner that there might be trouble at the unveiling of this new hover train that's coming out. So she's kind of scoping it out there. The train starts to move, but it moves in the wrong direction. Oh no. And there's another really cool speed bike chase here. I think I did skip over the first bike chase. When she first gets the bike is when she first goes on the highway. The bike, or not the chase, sorry, just the riding the bike. I think she does actually ride it out, and she's on blasts out of the waterfall and stuff. The bike stuff in this movie is so fucking cool.
It is.
The sense of speed is nuts. That's like, I didn't mention it in my nostalgia because I was saving it for here, but like the thing I remember the most from this movie when I first saw it was how cool the bike riding was and how fast it seemed. And yeah, so
It's all
now
that
we get a
Cars
really
3 technology, you know? They mastered speed there, so.
So yeah, she's chasing this train, trying to catch up to it. And this bike is fucking sick. She's basically like Spider-Man with this bike. She's whipping it around. It can break in half, so she can kind of like one wheel it in a way, like one wheel with her hands, one wheel with her feet, and she's jumping through
I like
buildings and
the
shit.
physic momentum that she uses,
Yeah.
where she like stretches her body out to like make it like really long, and then pops it together to push her
Launches
up, so it's like a
herself.
jump. Yeah, that's a
It's
sick
very
move.
cool.
Very
when
video
she swings
gamey.
one end to make it like go up in the air
Yeah.
like a boomerang or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, my takeaway from this whole thing is that Elastigirl can fucking ride a bike. Like, holy shit. She's scaling like sides of buildings and running up billboards. And I don't know. It's nuts. Why did she have a motorcycle until now? I mean, I know she said she had one when she was younger, but
I think she,
goodness.
well,
She wasn't really working in the first movie, right? Like they weren't.
Correct,
They couldn't
yes.
be out in public yet.
I was going to say, like, didn't she mentioned she had a bike back in the day, though, like before.
In the first movie?
In this movie, she says
In
this movie,
she used to
Before
have
Bob.
an elastocycle, but I assume it's because that one was like probably shitty and not high tech like this one.
I mean, I just mean she could have a bike as a person. Like, she's clearly really good. She could have a scooter, a Vespa,
true.
like
Yeah.
a bicycle.
that's
Like,
true.
she doesn't have any of that.
That's true. That's true.
So yeah, she finally gets to the train, destroys the bike. Or RIP
it's
bike.
The bike fucks, but is quickly destroyed.
Yeah, I mean the bike was OP. They really needed to nerf Elastigirl somehow.
I don't think she needed to destroy the bike, to be honest.
Yeah,
with
they
you.
were going into a really narrow tunnel.
Yeah.
Guess
It wouldn't have fit.
It wouldn't have fit.
It wouldn't
like
have
on
fit.
its.
No,
it's
it wouldn't
just
have.
that-
Did you see how low she had to, or how long she had to
She had
stretch
to
herself
stretch
out
Keep
Yeah.
her thin.
to not reach the ceiling?
I just feel like the elastocycle should also be elasticy, right?
Agreed.
Maybe
Or at
version
least
3
have
of it.
airbags or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, she finally gets on the train, as Laura said. They end up going through this tunnel. She has to flatten herself, kind of like in the first movie. She had to flatten herself to get into the what was Syndrome's cave from the first movie. So she gets on the train. She runs to where the conductor is. She's banging on the glass, but can't get his attention. He's just kind of like staring blankly forward. She's like, God damn it. So she runs to the back of the train. She parachutes. She's parachuting all over the place now. Oh my God.
She does that a lot in this
nonstop.
movie.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
main move. Yeah, main
Yeah,
move.
it's like
And
a go-to
it's
move.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's so
It's
handy.
pretty dope. Yeah. She's like trying to run, but then she just like parachutes and jettisons herself to the other end of the train kind of thing. Pretty intense. So she like separates the train, trying to slow it down. She managed to save it. Train does go off the end of the rail, but doesn't actually like fall. So there's very little damage. She's like 2 thumbs up, super successful. She runs through the train, scolds the conductor, like pulls him to the side. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? But he's coming out of it. Like he seemed like he was in a daze and he's just like, I don't know what's going on. And she looks at the screen, and on the screen where he was just looking, it says, welcome back, Elastigirl, from Screenslaver. Did it say from? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But it's basically welcome back, Elastigirl, from Screenslaver.
That
there's
is a great name for a villain, by the way. Screenslaver.
Is it?
I think it's really.
What does it mean?
It means it's like screensaver, but you're a slave to the screen.
Oh,
They-
because
they
the people
hypnotize
become
people.
slaves?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I guess I didn't make the connection that they become his slaves.
You just thought it just sounded different? Like, what did you think screenslaver meant?
I was just like, why would he call himself a slaver? I don't understand. But now I guess I get it.
Yeah. I just think it's a clever name. It's like Underminer. I just like the villain
Yeah.
names. That,
Underminer.
Like, incredible.
Great name.
Yeah.
Great name.
Yeah, Screenslaver is it's perfect. It's
Just a
great
fun,
name.
fun name.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And it's a scary name for the main villain of
It
the
is kind
movie.
of scary.
So she saved the day, but there's a new villain, and clearly that villain was doing naughty things here. So now we go back to Bob. Violet is she was supposed to be going on her date with Mr. Tony, but she's sitting outside. She's all sad. And I don't think we saw this at all, or at least maybe I missed it, but Bob's like, oh, you didn't even bother to call? And then she like goes by him all pissed off. And I think obviously we're supposed to infer that he didn't even call or show up, but I don't think we saw anything with her about that.
She got
No.
stood
really-
up.
Yeah, it's really just Bob's delivery there. So yeah, she got stood up. So she's rightly pissed and storms by him. Jack there's a little running gag here where he puts Jack down for sleep. He goes and does something and Jack's in front of the TV again, puts him down for sleep, rinse and repeat. So Bob finally takes Jack. He's reading to Jack, and Jack goes back in front of the TV while Bob's sleeping. And while he's watching it, there's a show on. Jack looks outside. He hears a noise in the yard. He looks through the doors and he sees a raccoon there. And he looks back to the TV and he equates the raccoon with the bad guy, evil guy on the TV. And Jack's like, I'm gonna fuck up this raccoon. So Jack makes his way outside. He just like blips through the door, the glass
phases
door.
through it. Yeah.
Phases through it. I mean, we saw in the last movie he had powers, but we're kind of seeing some new powers now for Jack. And this is basically where the best mid-movie short film now begins in
Yeah.
like history. This is like an amazing little short film of Jack and this raccoon having this fight. And I would also like to wee this raccoon because who
Oh.
takes on a flaming baby
Yeah.
that's like
Interesting. Yeah, I'm
That
all for
raccoon
that.
did not back down.
Yeah.
that raccoon did not back down.
That is good.
It was
I
a-
like that Wii U. I like it because I was just gonna say Jack. I know he's a baby, but he
Oh,
fucks.
Jack fucks for sure, as does this raccoon.
Yeah, both of them do.
Yeah, they're like going ham. This raccoon is not backing down. They're scrappy, they're fighting. There's a little bit of like a sense of Scratch from Ice Age in the raccoon, I feel like, just the twitchiness.
Yeah, I can see
feel
it.
like. So Jack, he's like lighting on fire. He's shooting laser beams out of his eyes. He turns into goo at one time. He's just got all these powers now, which all the visuals of Jack's powers are like insanely like rendered, like looks so good. The fire especially looked crazy good.
This must have been
I-
a fun scene for the animators to throw around ideas for.
Yeah, this almost feels like it was a short film, but then they were like, no, we should put this in the movie because I feel like you can literally take it out of the movie. And yeah, it's
I feel
really
like
good.
it's similar to Jack Attack. If
Yeah,
I remember
well,
correctly.
Similar.
Yeah.
Oh yes, definitely. Jack Attack was all about showing his powers and kind of like how a nuisance he was. So I think they just kind of expanded that out for this one.
Yeah, you're seeing all the powers on display. I like that he's like got laser beams coming out and he starts crossing his eyes and like chops the umbrella pole. So Bob finally wakes up because there's like a ton of commotion outside with Jack and this raccoon. And he runs outside because he thinks the raccoon's attacking Jack, which I guess kind of is. But then he realizes Jack is like doing all these crazy powers and shit. And he's like over the moon that Jack has powers because they did not know that he had powers. And Jack, I did write down is very cute. I feel like in this moment he was doing some really cute baby faces and noises and stuff. So Jack is cute and fucks, as we now know.
You can be both.
You can be
Exhibit
both.
A. I'm pointing to myself.
All right, so then we're back with Helen now, or Elastigirl. So she calls Bob, wants to know how everything's going. Bob's like he wants to tell her about Jack, but he realizes that he should probably kind of just like keep it on the down low because he wants her to like, keep doing her thing. So he tells her everything's been going great. Jack's getting plenty of sleep. He's basically downplaying how hard he's been finding it with, can't do Dash's homework. Violet is like upset about the boy. Jack's going fucking nuts with all of his powers. So, but he's like, no, it's all good. And
I'll
then,
say
of
at this
course-
point in the movie, still, I have very little sympathy for Bob. Like, Bob is, for a lot of this movie, until later, but like, and I think you're supposed to feel like this, but he is very frustrating as a father, I guess. Like, he's just like,
yeah.
You're like, why aren't you... Like, he's trying to be supportive of his wife going off to do superhero stuff, but he's doing it in a selfish way because he wants to be a superhero, even though, like, if we're talking about the timeline of things that happened, what happened in the last movie was not that long ago between what's happening here. So a lot of lessons that he learned seem to be unlearned for, like, parts of this movie. And that's why I'm just like, fuck you, Bob. Like, just be better. Like, Helen was alone with these kids for a lot of the first movie because you're off doing superhero stuff without telling anyone, and you've taken care of these kids for a day, and you're just, I don't know, it's just kind of frustrating. Did that
No, I would
resonate with you
agree.
guys? Yeah.
I mean, he's doing like normal everyday parent stuff up until Jack's like crazy powers and shit. But even at this moment, like you said, it's still kind of like standard parent stuff.
Just be a dad, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, this was the choice to make this movie. I mean, half of the movie is basically him at home doing this
Yes.
stuff. So it's like, it's just so stereotypical. It's not like he does get better at it, but to be like, oh, look, dads are so bad at parenting when the mom goes off to work. And it's like, you wanted to be progressive in this, but it doesn't really feel like you are being that. I don't know. It's like a weird thing that they're trying to do, but not quite. And I feel like, what might have fixed it is having more women writers on the movie. as well.
Fair enough.
I also do think it's also Mr. Incredible. Like, I do agree with like the generalization thing, but I also think it's Mr. Incredible just does like he's bad at this stuff as well. Like as a
Yeah.
character, I mean,
Yeah.
Irony.
He is.
Irony.
Irony.
ironing.
Because irony.
Wouldn't it have been nice to see him
He
good
didn't
at
do
it
any
a little
irony.
bit though, or like parts of it? Like
Yeah.
he gets
Well, that
better,
it comes, right?
and
Like,
he does,
we'll get
yeah.
there,
So I
yeah.
do like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's irony because his name is Mr. Incredible.
And he's not incredible at it.
Oh my God, Laura, your jokes
my
are
God.
just like.
It's not a joke.
Yeah.
It's not a
They're-
joke.
they're
It's just
very
an
deep, like
observation.
screen slavery, you know, like they got a lot of layers.
They're using irony.
Okay. Yeah. I hear
It's
you.
an observation.
All right, so yeah, they're talking on the phone, Bob and Helen. Bob's like, yeah, things are okay, I guess. Like, whatever, how's things with you? And Elastigirl just like explodes with excitement. She just had the time of her life, like chasing down this train, huge action section. She's telling him all about it. She couldn't be more excited. Bob's just like gritting his teeth, grinding them, and like trying to be happy for her, but also extremely jealous that she's getting to do anything remotely like this. And he's stuck at home doing math and dealing with his daughter's
Like being with the kids
missing
is the
boyfriend.
crummy job.
Yeah, that's not
Which
exciting.
is an ongoing like shtick in the movie to this point, which we haven't like talked about, but it happened at least at the beginning, and it happens a few times where it's like, oh man, like I have to watch Jack Jack, like when other
Yeah.
people get to do superhero
All the
stuff,
kids
it's
are
like
being
you
like,
watch
"Ugh."
Jack Jack, like, and it's always like they're
Yeah.
trying to pawn it off. It's like nobody wants to be the parent,
Yeah, which does come back later.
but Helen does. Yeah.
Yes.
Continue.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, no, none of them, like Dash doesn't want to watch Jack Jack. Violet doesn't want to watch Jack Jack. They kind of keep handing him off like a
Bob
football.
doesn't want to watch Jack
Yeah,
Jack.
Bob
Because they all want to
doesn't.
be heroes and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like do the fun
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, Elastigirl's having an amazing time, basically. Bob, not so much. So he's like, I think, yeah, I wrote down basically what we've been talking about, where I'm like, you know, Bob's gritting through it, and it's like he kind of realizes he needs to be strong in a different way because he's used to being like physically strong, but now he has to be like emotionally strong for her so that she can do his thing, and he needs to kind of take a step back. So that's his kind of realization, I felt like, or at least what I feel like the audience is supposed to get at this point. So Bob's having trouble sleeping that night. He's kind of tossing and turning, mumbling, grumbling to himself about math specifically, because math is stupid. And he's just like, God. So he gets up, goes to the dining room table, and starts studying the math book. Because he's just like, whatever, I'm going to learn this shit. Wait for mom to get home. I don't think so. So yeah, he wakes up Dash early in the morning. He's just like, all right, buddy, I learned your math. Like, I think we got this. So he's starting to turn that corner, as we were saying. Like, he wasn't embracing the home life, whereas now I feel like he's kind of realized he needs to pivot his role a little bit. So he's starting to embrace it a bit more now. Violet at the school confronts Tony about not showing up or calling her. She's being very like twitchy and kind of scary in this moment a little bit, but he just doesn't know her at all. He's just like, I don't know who you are. I've never met you before. Almost like his memory has been erased. I know. So we're back with Elastigirl. She's doing all these TV interviews, mostly about obviously the superhero, the repealing of the Superhero Act, or whatever they called it in the movie. That's kind of the whole point of what she's doing, this is to repeal that, make superheroes legal again. So right as they start the interview, the interviewer is quickly hypnotized, and Elastigirl realizes it kind of smashes the TV, or perhaps, or no, she turns around, shields her eyes from the TV, and then runs around trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And Screenslaver, there was an ambassador when she got there, sorry, to back up a little bit. And she finds out Screenslaver is going to take down the chopper that the ambassador is in. So then Elastigirl's like, oh my God, here I go, heroing again, and runs off. And she's like jumping through the air against these choppers. A lot of the action stuff with Elastigirl is so cool. Again, very like Spider-Man-y, because she can extend her arms so she can really like whip around. I feel like this might even, I've been playing a lot of Spider-Man 2. I just finished Spider-Man 2 the other day, and there's like, it might be this moment where she like stretches out her arms and backs up and like creates herself a slingshot. And I was like, just like Spider-Man 2. She can do that. It's a move you can do in that movie. So yeah, she finally gets on the chopper. She destroys the screen that like, because the chopper screens had the pilots all messed up and they didn't know what they're doing. So she destroys that. She takes over flying the chopper. Pretty badass. Elastigirl, man, She knows what she's doing. One of the choppers like explodes. Were there people in there? We don't care. We only care about this chopper we're in right now. And she saves those people at least. But the ambassador's still on there. But as the chopper goes down, she like jumps out with the ambassador, saves her, big explosion, all very hectic and very cool. So yeah, now after all that crazy cool stuff, we're back at home with Bob. And he's chatting with Violet. And Violet realizes that Bob told Agent Dicker about Tony and got his mind erased. So she's super pissed at Bob for ruining this relationship. And I think this is where she tries to destroy her super suit. And she, Renege's superheroes or whatever. It's just like, I'm not doing it anymore. And she tries to destroy the suit and all that. So that's fun. And then we're back with Elastigirl. She arrives at Winston's office. He's delighted. People are loving superheroes. The ambassador was in the paper talking about how great Elastigirl is because the ambassador loves Elastigirl. But Helen is just like, Screenslaver's still out there. Like, sure, this is cool, but we got to stop this guy. He's going to hurt people. So she's on a mission. She wants to get this guy. So they're like, you know what? You need to relish in the fruits of your labor. Take a pause, smell the flowers every once in a while. I mean, they're like, we got some heroes here that we'd like to introduce to you. So they introduce her to these heroes and they have a little party. The only one I really remember, I guess there's like the Crusher guy, crush things. There's Void. She's pretty cool. Her powers are cool.
Her powers fuck.
Oh yeah,
the
very
portal.
like, portal.
I don't think she does, but the portal stuff is cool, especially later in the movie when it's like coupled together with like other powers. Like when I think Violet. Well, I'm fast forwarding, but like when that battle happens with the portal and the force field stuff, I was like, this is really cool.
Yeah, her powers are pretty cool. I do like the I forget his name, but the barfing guy.
Is it a gift or is it indigestion?
Reflux.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, that's for you to decide. I like that. So yeah, they're having a little party. They're all getting to know each other a little bit more, getting kind of relaxed around each other, just having a good time. And then Helen asks Winston's sister, because they get chatting at one point, asks her to come up with some tracking tech that could track Screenslaver because he must have some kind of signal kind of thing. So she's like, I could probably do that. Then we go back to Bob. He's talking with Agent Dicker about trying to help out Violet and get Tony back together. Bob decides he gets some information from Dicker, and then he's like, you know what? We're going out to dinner. So he takes his kids out to dinner at this family restaurant, it looks like, probably. So they're all sitting down, they're waiting for their food, and this is where it turns out Tony is the waiter for them. And this moment is hilarious, where Violet sprays she's drinking when she realizes Tony's there, and the water just like streams out of her nose.
Great
I love
animation.
this moment. Yeah, so good.
It is
and I
fun.
feel like
Good
I feel like her nose is kind of like red for a bit after it as well, from like the forest. Oh, I do love that moment. That's an iconic moment from this movie, I would say.
It's fun. It is fun.
Yeah, she's extremely shy in this moment, or embarrassed. Extremely embarrassed in this moment. Dash is being pretty funny. I remember finding Dash kind of irritating and annoying in the first movie, but I found him kind of enjoyable in this one. His little quips and stuff were not as like grating on me as the first movie. I feel like he was more there as comedic relief this time around versus having like an important part in the story, I guess.
Sure.
So Bob and Dash compliment the tap water. And they're like, oh, this is exquisite tap water.
They're being so pleasant.
Yeah. We're back with Helen yet again. She's interviewing with the anchor from the previous incident. Again, he's kind of recalling what happened all over the phone, not in person this time. And they're showing the body cam footage from her train chase, and then Screenslaver takes over the screens, and he's doing his whole screenslavery thing, and the tracking tech that Evelyn made works, and so she starts following the tracking device towards Screenslaver. Wait, what? Screenslaver is really shitting on people? Oh yeah, I didn't write down much of his speech at this point, but he's basically like shitting on people in general and their need for superheroes, and he's shitting on superheroes, and yeah, there's just a lot of like, he seems like a fairly sour individual. So she tracks a signal to this building, silently breaks in using her stretchy, cool powers. starts sneaking around this dark and creepy apartment, which kind of reminded me of like Seven in a way, the movie Seven. Just had like creepy vibes in there. Everything was like dirty. There was like eyeballs
Very
around
dark,
and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah. So she sees a bunch of hypnosis things, like the twirly black and white stuff, as well as like plans for the train and all these different things. So it's definitely in the right place. And as she's investigating things, Screenslaver comes out of nowhere and jumps her, sucker punches her in the back, closes
Oh,
this room
shit.
that they're in. And I assume this is probably one of the big issues in the theaters.
This is
was
the
this whole
scene, yeah.
sequence.
This is
Yeah,
for
this
sure
was it.
that scene. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like black and white lights going off all over the place. Screenslaver is holding his own against Elastigirl, I gotta say.
Yeah, it makes no sense, but
Suddenly
doesn't
she forgot like all of her powers. But I get it. He got the jump on her and it's flashing. She's disoriented, I'm sure.
it is. We know we just talked about this for a while, but like, man, is it ever just like, because there's swirling stuff in the back. There's
Yeah.
like kind of lights flashing, strobing a little bit as that's happening. And there's like electricity stuff going, like there's punches being thrown, and also like you see like the jolts of electrical.
tasering
like,
her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
Yeah.
wait, this is so much. Like even for me,
It like hurt my eyes.
yeah, even for me, like I don't suffer for any of that, but I didn't like. I think it's cool, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I think they want us to enjoy that moment to be like, this is a moment.
I mean, it's
I feel
impressive,
like-
but not enjoyable.
That's it.
I think Spider-Verse has like busy frames and busy shots that look cool and still feel good, whereas this is just like busy and aggressive.
Yeah, aggressive. Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty intense. I do like the guys like the Screenslaver posing or animation. He's kind of like lanky and hunched over, and it's very creepy, which
Yeah.
is good. Yeah, Elastigirl finally gets the better of Screenslaver. I think they like fall out of a building or something. She unmasks him. It's this dude. You know, he's like, I don't know what's been going on. But she's like, you're going to jail. The cops are there. They take him the whole time. He's like, I don't know. Where am I? That kind of thing. But you know, it's definitely Screenslaver. There's no other possibility. So luckily, Evelyn's tracker worked like a charm, is what Elastigirl tells Evelyn, and they're like, yeah, good job. Us, pat on the back. Back with Bob. He's very tired at this point. Giant bags under his eyes. I think he's got like a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow. He's just looking like death, presumably from Jack and all of his powers. So he sees on the TV his car, the Incredibile. Is that what it was called?
yes.
Yeah, not as cool as the Elasticity.
I don't know. It's pretty cool. One might say it also fucks. Sam, thoughts? Come on, it's voice
I think it would
activated.
fuck if we didn't see the cool ass bike already, which is clearly way cooler. But yes, it's a pretty cool
You
car,
can
I guess.
summon it. It has rocket launchers. It's voice activated.
I would argue not.
I guess.
Yet. It doesn't.
Oh yeah. For sure.
But there is a moment later where it's like, all right,
Yeah,
you gotta
sure.
give it to it. So yeah, he sees his car, his old car, back on the TV that some rich dudes bought. So he wants to call it back, but he's like, yeah, for Helen's sake, I won't piss off another billionaire kind of thing. So then this is also when the kids finally find out about Jack's powers. And they're badgering him about why he hasn't told Helen. And they're like, well, you've told mom, right? And he's like, oh, not yet. And they're like, why haven't you told her? Blah, blah, blah. And they're getting after him. And then this is where Bob is like a big freak out on them. And he's just like clearly not handling things well. I forget the stuff that he says, but he's just like, he's at his limit. He's tired. And it wasn't like mean stuff that he was yelling at them. It was just him venting a lot.
Yeah, this part felt like pretty real in the way that it was like, it did feel like a tired father ranting about something, and he might be saying he might regret like things that are bottled up inside, but it's not coming out the right way kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. So the kids are like, you should really call Lucius, who's Frozone. You should call him. He can maybe help. So Lucius comes and he's like, you should be telling Helen about Jack's powers. This is crazy. It's pretty clear Bob hasn't been sleeping. It's just like he's hanging on by a thread. He's about to like just pass out any moment now. So Frozone is like, I think you need some solid outside the box thinking. And then it's like, do-do-do-do. And who knows? And then we cut. And Bob is at Edna Mode's house with Jack at the gates. And Bob wants her to make Jack a suit, but she doesn't want to. She's like, I don't do babies. That's not me. But she sees one of Jack Jack's powers and immediately becomes fascinated. And just kind of like, oh, maybe I do want to study Jack Jack. And ushers Bob out of the house. And she's like, don't worry.
Don't worry, darling. Darling.
Darling.
Yeah. I love Edna.
so-
I think she's such a fun character. Even though like her shtick in this movie is very similar to the first movie.
Yes.
Like that even coming down to like we'll see her later, like showing how the suit works for Jack Jack. Like the same stuff happens again, but she's just like a nice mix into like what's happening in the story that you're like, let's go, let's do it.
It's always like a bit of a breath of fresh air
Yeah.
to like, let some levity, I guess. But yeah, and voiced by Brad Bird, I think.
Yep.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, classic. So here is where you could, in theory, pause the movie and go watch the Auntie Edna short. And then
did you
come
guys watch
back.
it?
We did after, yeah. So you kind of see like her like with Jack Jack and that whole little dynamic, and then it picks up where we'll pick up with them later. But yeah, fun little short. Very, very much a showcase of Jack Jack's powers and like
I figured so. Yeah.
Pixar flopping its dick out on the table as usual, being like, look what we can do. Yeah, so Bob leaves Jack Jack there and presumably is going to finally get to sleep. So back with Helen, another big party. This is the second big party for Helen. They're celebrating capturing Screenslaver. For some reason, they have like his video playing on the screens at the party. I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Why would you be like showing clips from this like terrorist's video that he was airing?
I guess they were
But,
probably
okay.
showing Elastigirl's clips of him, though, right?
Oh, from the fight. Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
that must
that's
have
probably
been
what
it.
it was. Yes.
Still,
that
just
makes
like
a
a
lot
Yeah,
weird
still weird.
thing to
But still,
show.
that's weird.
Still
yeah.
weird, yeah.
Yeah.
Still weird. So yeah, they're at the party. They want to utilize this momentum with like the public. So the public is just ecstatic. So like, we got to use this. We got to get superheroes back. This is great. Winston announces that leaders from all over the world have already met. I don't know. He says like 100 and something countries have already met and have like committed to making superheroes legal again. Oh yeah, while Helen is talking to the Void, who's the superhero with the portal powers, she kind of like looks over her shoulders at the screen with all the Screenslaver stuff playing and notices something kind of fishy there. We don't see it, but she kind of catches something. So she kind of gets her game face on, is like, something's up, and she leaves the party to presumably go investigate what she saw on the TV. Back with Bob, he's very, very tired. He apologizes to Violet. This is a very tender moment. He apologizes to Violet about the situation with Tony and getting the memory erased. And he's just talking about how he wants to be a good dad. He's taking ownership of the mistakes that he's been making lately, like parental mistakes with his kids. And I kind of get the feeling they don't usually hear him apologize or kind of admit that he was wrong or did something wrong. So seems like a big moment. And of course, Violet's like, you're not just a great dad, you're a super dad. Something like that. Very cute. So he reveals he's not sure what the good choices are anymore and just wants to be a good dad. And then this is where Violet forgives him and is like, you're a good dad. So yeah, anyway, Bob, as we were saying, kind of not great in the beginning, but he's coming around to it. He's settling into that home life.
Yeah, he's getting better.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of a pat on the back I want to give him for that, but like in the story, I'm like, yes, this is where it should be going after all that, for sure.
So yeah, we're back with, or we're with Evelyn. So, or we're sorry, with Helen, Elastigirl, and Evelyn finds her at the TVs, kind of poring over all the fight footage from her body cam. And Helen's like, hey, did you notice there's some stuff in the footage of like on the monitor in the background? It's like her footage in the monitor, but it's a closed loop system from the body cam footage. So how could it be on the monitor? And Elastigirl's like, none of this is adding up. I'm very suspicious. And this is where, out of nowhere, Evelyn just like slaps some goggles onto Helen, and Elastigirl is now consumed and a slave to the screen, you might say.
I like the like it's a very quick moment the way she like slaps the goggles on Elastigirl. So like I felt like that shot was very effective to be like, oh shit, she got her good.
Yes.
It's a real Hans moment.
Fun little twist.
Yeah.
Yes. No, it's a good one. And so obviously, in case the viewers at home didn't realize, Evelyn is the bad guy. She is Screenslaver and has been the whole time.
Did this surprise anyone.
It surprised me, I remember.
Yeah.
I thought it was the dude, Bob Odenkirk.
I think that's what they
thought
tried
he
to
was-
like set up,
Yeah,
right?
I
Yeah,
think
because
so.
like Evelyn and Helen had such a very like girl boss, like a lot of girl boss moments together. Do you know what I'm talking about? They do that a
I
lot.
have written in caps here, girl boss.
Because there's a part where they're just like, yeah, girl, you go,
Yeah.
girl, kind of thing. So like, you
And
can
I
tell-
feel like everything they were saying there was gibberish. That part lost me. We glazed over it because I don't know what's happening.
no, I don't know either. But you just know they're bonding as
Yeah.
females.
I
We
did
just
like
know
that,
they're girl bossing.
I think there's very few like relationships between women showed in Pixar and Disney movies. So that was kind of cool to be like, oh, look at this. This is like something we don't see very often. And then it was fake.
And then it's let's pit these women against each other.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I didn't really write anything down from their conversation before Helen leaves, but it was basically like Evelyn asking a question about how her brother is like selling all of her stuff, but she's the one inventing it all. So would you rather be a seller or a buyer? Helen's like, well, do you want the pessimistic me or the positive me or something like that?
The
And she kinda
cynic
gives
or
two-
the believer
Cynic.
or something.
Yeah, and so one is just like, the buyer or the seller is better because there's always buyers. So if you're a good seller, like you're
sell
in a better
anything.
position, something like that. And it's kind of like
Yeah.
she's seeing or she's playing both angles. Helen is, I mean.
I think this moment for me, the reveal was like, again, I think I mentioned this in Coco, the exact same thing where like we're trained at this age and how many movies we watch that there has to be some sort of turn because we haven't seen one in the movie yet. So we're like, okay, what nice person is just pretending to be nice and they're the villain? And in Coco, it was Ernesto de la Cruz. And in this movie, you're thinking I think they want you to think it's Winston because obviously it can't be Evelyn. They had a girl boss moment. But I think that the thing that was a little surprising to me was that I thought it would have been Winston or both of them being the bad guy. You know what I mean? Not like Evelyn and then keeping one of them in the dark because they're siblings. So that was a little bit of a surprise. But anyways.
Did we say Evelyn, Fex?
Does she?
No.
I think she does by virtue of being voiced by Catherine Keener.
Oh, okay.
I would agree with that. That's
fair.
That is the only
You
reason.
convinced me.
Okay.
I do think I was surprised by this as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't really mention any of the moments, but there are often times where Winston is like, oh, who would have thought saving an ambassador would get us so much good publicity? And like, he kind of drops little nuggets like that here and there where you're like, wait, did you plan for that to happen? And so I feel like that's how they're kind of getting you to think it's him versus her. She's also very much, even like, I kind of glazed over her entrance because she like, literally in hindsight, it's like, yeah, of course she's the bad one because she like walks in and he's like, it's like, oh yeah, my sister. And then she like has almost no lines whatsoever. It's like, why did you introduce that person if they don't have like any reason to be here in this
Right.
moment?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Anyway, good stuff. So that's a big reveal and who knows what's going to happen. So we're back with Bob after that craziness went down. And he finally wakes up after sleeping for 17 hours, the kids tell him. Looks
Sounds
rested.
wonderful.
Yeah, I know. It really does. Yeah, he looks rested now. He seems better, cheerier. So he goes on his way back to get Jack Jack from Edna. Edna and Jack Jack show Bob the new suit. I do like how Jack Jack's kind of like mimicking Edna. He's kind of like walking with Edna's thing, and he's got this like Edna attitude about him, which is very cute. I like Jack Jack. He's cute. So Edna has like fully figured out all of Jack Jack's powers and made this soup to help with everything. It can predict before things happen. It can help Bob locate Jack Jack when he goes invisible into another dimension, I think they say. Jack Jack goes. It can put him out when he's on fire.
I like
Very
that.
helpful.
It's just like very cute animation of just like, it's just like foam that comes out of the suit and then just puts them out. It's very cute.
Blackberry
Yeah, it's like-
lavender.
Yeah.
Darling.
Yeah, Edna thinks of everything. So yeah, the suit seems pretty baller. Solves every issue basically that Bob has with Jack Jack and trying to control him. So yeah, in return, Bob's like, you want money? Edna's like, no, I just want exclusive rights for all of time and across the entire universe for Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl, and Frozone suits designs. Because I didn't mention it, but Elastigirl's new suit was designed by some other guy. Edna's not impressed by that. She's like, only I can design all these things. Bob's like, okay, cool. So Helen, now Elastigirl, back with her, wakes up. She's tied to a chair, sub-zero room. Breath is like condensation, all that stuff. She can't stretch. Evelyn's there. Is like, don't even try to stretch. You're gonna like snap if you even try because you're so chilly. So yeah, Evelyn, she's not a good person apparently. So she goes on to monologue about how much she hates superheroes, and her perspective of the night her dad died is that he died because of his faith in heroes, whereas like her brother is like he died, the heroes didn't get there to save him. I don't know, the whole logic of this like dichotomy is like I'm like I don't fully understand where you're getting at, but I get her side more. I'm like, yeah, he put his faith in heroes. Like I get why you hate heroes. So she doesn't want heroes. She wants heroes to be even more illegal than they are, like persecuted almost.
Okay, this makes me, I'm like, I get it kind of, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna think about it too hard, but it's like they're already illegal, and she's like, I'm gonna like get them to become legal so I can make them even more illegal. I'm just like, what the fuck?
I think it's just like, and I'll play devil's advocate because I completely agree with you, but mostly it's just like if her brother is so horny to make this happen, like he's the people person, right? He's the guy who can make it happen. She needs to basically make them legal for his sake and then pull the rug under him so that basically the biggest supporter becomes not,
I mean,
right?
I'm sure she just like found out he was doing his thing and is like, no, I'm gonna do my thing. But her plan is just like, yes, they're already illegal. I need them to be more illegal.
Personally, my favorite thing about this scene is that rather than leaving Elastigirl under hypnosis, she takes her out of hypnosis so she can explain herself to Elastigirl and then puts her back under hypnosis.
That's true. I didn't even, that's a great point.
I didn't realize that.
You gotta get the monologue in.
Yeah.
We need it, yeah.
So yeah, Evelyn's basically like, I'm gonna make sure superheroes are illegal forever, and there's never a chance that they'll come back because they've been gaining popularity lately, as Sam was saying. But Evelyn's like, no, forever. There'll be like no possible way after I'm done. Pretty supervillainy of her. So back with Bob yet again. Again, like I said, there's a lot of jumping back and forth in this movie. Bob's showing the kids the new suit that Jack has, and he's like using Jack as like a laser gun, which is pretty funny. That becomes a little bit of a gag where he's like, no shooting Jack in the house or whatever. Good stuff. So the kids are pretty pumped about all the powers and the suit and everything. So Evelyn calls Bob while he's hanging out with the kids, and she's like, oh man, Helen's in trouble, Elastigirl's in trouble. You gotta come help, like shit's going down. And Bob's like, I'm on it. He calls Lucius. He's like, you gotta come watch the kids. I gotta leave. I gotta go help Helen. So he dashes out and he's just like, I'm gone. Well, after he leaves, Dash is like digging through Bob's room. He finds the remote control to the car, Bob's car, the Incredicar or whatever it was called.
Incredibile.
Don't get them confused.
No, different thing.
So he finds the remote. Violet's collecting their suits because she's like, we might need them. And while they're doing that, because they know Lucius is coming, they hear the doorbell. And so Dash is like, I'll go get the doorbell. Zips over there, opens up the door, and it's all the other heroes from that party earlier in the movie. But we can see, Dash doesn't know about this, but we can see they have those goggles on. So we know they're bad. And they're just like, oh, like Bob sent us here to look after you. But, you know, the vibes are creepy, to say the least, from this group. Frozone, luckily, shows up behind them. I kind of like that his entrance is preceded by snow falling. You start to see the snow and then you hear him, which I thought was really cool. So luckily Frozone shows up and he's like, oh, what a coincidence. Like, Bob called me and asked me to come. So I think I got this. Like, you can go. Like, no worries. And it's very tense. Frozone can feel something's up, tries to close the door. But I think it's Void, like, puts her foot down, can't close it. They're kind of like, they're playing this game of like, who's gonna make the first move here while trying to be nice about it at the same time. But shit goes down. Dash hits the return car button, or recall car button. The car busts through and saves them all in the nick of time because they were about to be taken out by the heroes. Things were getting tense, and this car basically saves them. They get into the car, but the bad heroes put goggles on Frozone, and now he's one of them. devastating because Frozone, as we discussed, is
But he
so
does a
cool.
badass like hero sacrifice kind of thing where he's like giving last minute instructions, being like, Incredible, say your
Yeah.
name so that it could like voice recognize you. And then like that's the last thing he does before he becomes evil Frozone.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
No zone. No? Hey. I'll think of another one.
So yeah, that's where we leave the kids. I think they maybe, yeah, the car like takes them to safety at this point. And yeah, that's where we leave them. Then we switch over to Bob, finally makes it to Evelyn, and Evelyn's like, oh my God, Helen's in this room. Like shit's going down. You got to get in there. So Bob runs in, very dark room. And you see like the goggles on Helen first. They have this like blue tinge to them or like light. So Helen comes out of the darkness, starts fighting Bob. Bob doesn't know what's going on. Bob's trying to convince her that it's him. And there's a moment where you think he gets through and Elastigirl kisses Bob, but it was all a ruse. And she grabs some goggles from Evelyn and slaps them on Bob's face. And now Bob is also a bad hero and hypnotized.
I thought that
under
was
this
cool. Like I think that's a
soothsayer,
cool
yeah.
it goes against your expectations in the way that like that's a very tropey thing.
Yes.
Of like, oh, you're my significant other and a kiss will break any spell. So I love the idea that it's just like she just used that moment to throw more goggles on him.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, now we're back with the kids. They're safe in the car. They did get away, but they're trying to figure out what to do next. They don't like they're kids. They're not used to come up with these superhero plans. So they're trying to figure that all out. But the kids, they find the dev tech company and the kids have an idea to help. They look at Jack, I feel like. At this point, you have no idea what their plan is, but they realize they just need to get to dev tech. So they tell the car, because it's voice activated, take them to dev tech. So the kids get there, but when they get there, oh my God, they're on the boat, which also they told them to go to dev tech, I'm pretty sure, which is a building, but the car takes them to the boat. I should have saved that for a hot take. So they get there and they're like, the boat, it's already left. We can't get to it. And then Dash says something like, I wish the car could get to the boat or something. And then the car turns into a boat.
Damn.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I've been saying. Even before the boat part.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty
it's
cool.
incredible. Oh, come on. Come on.
All right.
If it wasn't already, this is the moment.
Yeah. Can the Elasticycle turn into a boat? Well, probably.
You know what? The harder sell is just because it has such a wienery name.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, Elasticycle's pretty lazy of a name, too.
It's better than Incredible.
Yeah, they're on par.
Bob Parr.
On par. Damn it!
So yeah, we leave the kids speeding towards the big boat, or the yacht, I guess you would call it, that Winston's on. So we're with Winston. He's got all these people from all over the world, heroes from all over the world. They're on the boat. He's stressing because none of like his little group of heroes that are like working for him are there yet. But Helen's like, don't worry, chill. Like they'll be there when you need them. They're just like composing themselves basically. So Winston's kind of like stressing because he's got to give a speech and all that stuff to these people. So Violet and Dash get to the boat. They manage to get up. They eject from the car, which is pretty cool. Car's got eject seats. And they land on the ship. They get inside and they start sneaking around. But Void very quickly realizes that they're there and they get into a fight. And Jack at this point is also wandering around on his own on the ship. He gets away. Oh yeah, I did write that Jack's wandering around on his own being a weirdo. I feel like he was doing some like weird stuff at this point of the movie as he's wandering around, as babies do. I guess babies
walking
are
through
weird.
walls and like disappearing and stuff.
We also
Yeah,
never
yeah.
mention, and it's not even that important, but I just love Cookie Num Num.
Oh yes,
Cookie Num Num. Anytime they want to get Jack back.
I
Just
did
cute.
glaze over that. He's
It's not important.
Bob's always feeding him cookies to get him back from the dimension. Yeah.
But this fight is awesome.
Yes, yeah, that whole fight is really cool with Violet and them. Violet getting away, she's holding her own.
I think the part that
Jack's
I liked the most of that fight was like obviously the portal stuff is extremely cool anytime like anyone's punching through a thing and a portal appears and whatever. But I think the part that I was like, oh, this makes it feel like a more even fight is that she can portal underneath Violet's barrier and then be inside of her force field. And I was like, oh my God, that's like such like an invasion of privacy almost like you're safe behind the force field but not under it, right?
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, no, yeah, her, yeah, that was a good matchup. Was
Yeah,
like the portal powers.
totally.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Crusher guy could have crushed it, but he's not as nimble as Void, which like they're both kind of anyway. It is a cool fight. There's a lot of cool fights in this movie. So while this is all going on, Winston is starting to give his speech about how all the different nations and superheroes are coming together. It's a momentous occasion. He invites the ambassador from earlier in the movie to come up and be the first one to sign the new law that's basically superheroes are now legal kind of thing, or repeal the act or whatever it is they're signing. And while that's all going on, the kids, having got away from Void and them, finally find Jack Jack, and they try to hide, but all the bad heroes know that they're there. And the Crusher guy, they're hiding an event, and the Crusher guy starts to crush either side of the vent, which is kind of intense. And then Jack balloons into like a giant baby, basically falls down and crushes the Crusher. Bet he didn't see that coming. So after Jack falls out, he's got the little console that sort of controls his suit and helps predict where he is and all that stuff. And he's like tapping at it, but breaks it, which is not good. I don't think that comes back at any point. I was watching it this time and I was like, oh, like he broke the console. That must like come back in some way, but I feel like it doesn't come back at all.
Yeah, that doesn't come back. You're right.
It doesn't come back. He breaks it. It seems like a big deal because they're like, oh no, but it doesn't matter for the rest of the movie. Spoiler.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so the act is now fully signed. The superhero act is fully signed with everybody, and they're all about to take a big group photo, all the heroes and people from all the leaders from all over the world, and they turn to take a photo from the camera, and all the screens turn into screenslaver. Oh no. And she hypnotizes the whole room, devastating. And all the bad heroes come out at this, or earlier, I guess, but the bad heroes are around Evelyn, or not Evelyn, sorry. Man, Evelyn and Helen are too close for me, personally. I keep mixing them up. But Elastigirl and Mr. Incredible and Frozone are there as well. But they got the goggles on. So they're already hypnotized. So Evelyn is basically trying to make the heroes look bad, and she's getting the heroes to turn the ship around and ram it into this big city, whatever that big city was called. Laura, you know the name. Municeburg. Very Speed 2. This giant ship is going to smash into this city. Like I said, there's a lot going on in this movie. This was an undertaking to try to summarize it. It's all these twists and turns and stuff.
Yeah,
this movie has really undermined you.
Better. You're getting better. I was going to say, she's making Elastigirl verbally say all those things.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Like saying like, heroes are bad. Look at us. We're heroes and we're bad.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Heroes basically hate regular people, and only the fittest of the humans should survive, which was kind of Evelyn's thing. I feel like she mentioned something about that during her monologue, where she's like, people like only the fittest people should survive, like the smartest and blah blah, that kind of thing. So survival of the fittest is basically what Evelyn's after. So yeah, danger zone. A ship's gonna hit the city. The good heroes look like bad heroes. It's topsy-turvy world. Back with the kids though, the kids and Jack bust into the room, or I guess what is it, where the captain is on the ship? Man, my brain is fried. The helm, I guess we'll call it. So the kids bust in and they see the parents there. And the parents immediately attack the kids, and Violet saves them with one of her force fields by reflex, but Jack kind of like floats out, because that's one of his powers. He can just like levitate, sort of floats over to Elastigirl, his mom. I forget how he does it, but he gets her goggles off somehow.
He just force breaks them, like with his mind.
Is that what he does?
I think it wasn't. He didn't break him. It was just like he had like telekinesis, and I think it just lifted slightly, which just shows the big weakness of these goggles. Like a slight adjustment to it. She's like, "Oh, wait a second, this is fucked up."
I don't even think they were goggles. I think they were just glasses in the shape of goggles. They're just over the ears.
That's true, actually. Yeah. So Elastigirl manages to then rip her goggles off thanks to Jack, and then Elastigirl quickly like zips around the room and gets them off Bob and Frozone. And our bad heroes are back to being good heroes again. Woo. They are just heroes. And now, speaking of bad heroes, the other heroes that are bad come in. And this is where I think the fight that you were talking about starts, where it's like all the other heroes that are hypnotized are fighting our family of heroes in Frozone, which is pretty cool. You're seeing all their powers go off. It's pretty chaotic. It's really
Go off.
fun little section. But the good heroes fairly easily, I would say, take out the bad heroes and get their goggles off. I feel like once they know you just gotta get the goggles off, like they don't have to like beat the shit out of the other heroes.
The
Just
goggles,
get
they
the
do
goggles
nothing. Yes.
off. Yeah. So yeah, they get the goggles off, and then Evelyn goes and grabs Winston, and she's like, "We gotta get the heck out of here." They get in this plane that's like the top of the yacht, and it's pretty cool. Bob tells Helen to go finish her mission because he's like, I got the kids. We'll deal with the ship. Like, you go get Screen Slaver. You like, this is your thing. So he tells her to go. Bob's trying to get to the engine room, but the Crusher guy, they forgot about him. I think it's Dash, maybe, is like, hey, wasn't there a Crusher guy? And then that's where he's with Bob, and he's like stopping Bob from getting through the hallways of the ship by like changing things. The void now being a good void, not bad void, helps Helen get to the ship at the top, which is also a pretty cool section. She's like launching Helen through portals and like eventually gets her into the ship. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is also where Winston jumps off the plane before it gets too high off the ship.
Onto the boat.
Onto
He
the
jumps
boat,
off
yes.
the plane, out of the plane,
Onto
and
the
lands
boat.
on the boat.
Yeah, because he's like, I don't want anything to do, as Tung was saying. He didn't know anything about this. He's like, I don't want to go along with this. So he
This part
bails.
of the movie always reminds. Well, it's just this classic, like when the non-hero character does something slightly heroic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it's just like
Yeah.
it's like, okay, this is a good character moment for this person, but like it's kind of lame as well because they're just a regular human. He really just jumped what, like 10
It was
feet.
the bare minimum. Yeah. Bob or Winston's like, I don't want nothing to do with that. Bob finally defeats the Crusher guy, but he's blocked from the engine room, and he's like, can't you like uncrush this? And the Crusher's guy is like, I can't uncrush. That's crazy. Like, can you unpunch something?
I think that's a fun line.
Yeah, fun little back and forth there. Little quippy quips. So yeah, back with Evelyn now. She knows Elastigirl's on the plane somehow. I'm not really sure how she figured that out, but because Elastigirl's like in the back, but she's on the plane, and she starts doing these crazy maneuvers. Elastigirl's not strapped in, so she's like falling all over the cabin, bouncing around. Again, lots of back and forth stuff here, people. We're back with Bob. He can't get to the engine room, so he's with the kids in Frozone now, and the kids come up with a plan. I think it's the kids where they're like, we just got to hit the rudder, like get that rudder to turn, and the ship will turn. We don't have to like stop the ship. So that's their new plan. And they're like, okay, break. Frozone's gonna like shoot ice and try to get the ship to turn by kind of creating ice on one side. Bob's gonna dive in the water, try to physically turn the rudder on the back end. So they got a plan. Evelyn, meanwhile, is flying this plane higher and higher to low oxygen. Sorry, Helen is starting to like pass out from the low oxygen because Evelyn's got like the mask to help her out. Helen's getting all loopy and goofy, and as I guess you get with hypoxia, is that what they called it? Something like that. So yeah, Helen's getting kind of jokey and stuff, and a flare gun randomly comes out of nowhere. That's on the ground. Helen picks that up and shoots.
Yo, this part is kind of shocking how fast it happens. Like,
Yeah.
she fucking owns Evelyn like out that
Yeah.
fucking glass. It's crazy.
Yeah, I definitely do not want to get shot by a flare gun after
In
seeing
general, yeah, but like out high flying plane,
Yeah,
like that's
yeah. She does hit her, right? It doesn't hit the window and then she gets
No, it
sucked
hits her
out.
and then she gets
And
like
she catapults out the window
like
the front
instantly,
window,
yeah, exactly, and then
Yeah,
breaks
yeah.
the window and then like it's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's very dynamic, much like the bike sections. It's very like you really get that sense of speed and dynamicism to her. So yeah, she fucking yeets Evelyn out the window. But Helen, being the hero she is, jumps out of the plane, like does her little parachute, flies down to grab Evelyn, does her parachute thing. Evelyn, being the jerk she is, kicks Elastigirl in the face. But Elastigirl ain't gonna have that. She's still gonna save Helen or Evelyn, and does so. Meanwhile, Frozone is shooting the ice, as I said, around the ship. Bob manages to get to the rudder just in nick of time, turns the ship. This is like the most baller moment for Frozone's powers, where the ship
Yo,
is like
I was
drifting into
so
the
cool.
city, and he's just like creating a shit ton of like snow and ice to
So
slow the
much.
ship.
It's
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. So They finally did it. They survived. They've regrouped, like Helen, Elastigirl, and her family. They're all together. And the first thing she says is like, "Oh my God, I miss Jack Jack's first powers." You can see like the mom brain snap on almost immediately, where she's just like, "No." And then Bob's like, "Yeah, you're one of many," kind of thing. So she's got a lot to find out about Jack Jack. So Evelyn is going to prison. She still doesn't think Helen's a good person just because she saved her. I don't know. She kind of shouts that as she's getting like pushed into the car.
Reminds me of the first movie, like when Bob saved that guy that like jumped out the window or whatever, or jumped off the building, where it was just like, "Yeah, you saved me, but I don't like." I forget the exact term. It was like, "You saved me, but I didn't want to be saved."
Oh, the suicide guy.
The suicide guy. Yeah, exactly.
"You didn't save my life. You ruined my death."
Yeah. But here it's like a little bit different, where it's just like, "Yeah, you saved me, but I didn't want that." So
yeah. So Evelyn sucks.
Yeah, she does. In the end, for sure.
You know, heroes are heroes again. Legal status has been restored. Things are on the up and up for all of them. Violet, this is basically the end of the movie now. Violet's introducing herself to Tony. They're going to start that back up, presumably. They're going to a movie together. The whole family's in the car, which I do like when Tony gets in. His like face is very much like, "I did not expect like your entire family to be here," which is a fun little thing. And he comments on how they must be such a close family, which they are. They have grown close over the last two movies, closer and closer. So yeah, as they're dropping them off, this car zooms by, shooting guns out the windows. Probably some kind of heist just happened or something. Violet like pushes Tony out of the car and it's just like, "Just save me a seat, get some popcorn. I'm gonna be back." And she jumps in the car. They all put on their masks and they zip off. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. We got our fun credits with all the different visuals and stuff. And we got the boom, pow, da-da-da-da, like all that stuff. And yeah, that's Incredibles 2.
Woo!
Wow.
That was
a lot going on.
There was a
Like I
lot
said.
happening. Let's get right into it. Sam, thoughts?
Okay. So like thinking back on this movie, I feel like I thought I like didn't care for it that much. I was like, I don't feel like I really remember, like, not that I didn't like it, but I was like on it. This watch, I think I liked it more than I thought. Like I remembered liking it because there's like fun bits that I did remember. Like I feel like this movie didn't completely leave my brain. So like I feel like because I did remember like the bike stuff and the Jack stuff. So I liked all the action stuff on its own. But as like a whole of a movie, like I feel like I'd rather just go back and watch parts of it, because when I think about, I don't know, I have to turn my brain off quite a bit, because this movie definitely like makes me feel like I'm supposed to want to think things, but it's clear that I'm not supposed to. Like with the like, I feel like X-Men does it better, or like, you know, just like the whole hero talk on like what they should be in a society and stuff. They like kind of like, that seems like it's an issue, but also they don't really dive into
No, they don't revisit it.
They're trying to do too many things, and it's like they're really doing nothing. So there's no real like inner conflict, or like nothing's really interesting that's explored. So I like it for like the visual, and like the fights are cool, but like as far as like a film, I'm like, I don't know. Like even Screenslaver as a villain, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it starts losing me as soon as Screenslaver kind of comes into play, where I'm like, okay, we're not getting into like anything with this like politics situation, I guess. So yeah, and same, yeah. So I just don't know. I feel like it's a movie with little to say, and so it's kind of like feels a little like sequel-y syndrome in that kind of regard, where it's like, well, you already did the stuff you wanted to do, I guess, in the other movie. But visually, pretty cool.
Cool.
That's where I land on
Sequel-y
it.
syndrome. He's not in this movie.
I know, and it's worse for it.
Laura, how about yourself?
Yeah, I can't remember what I said my feelings were about the first movie, but I would say my feelings about this one are just about the same. Like I did quite like it. Thinking back to my watch of the first one, I don't think like I didn't watch it again until now. So I don't think the first time I saw Incredibles 2 I enjoyed it that much, but I would say this time I enjoyed it a lot more. But also I don't think I'll be watching it again anytime soon, but I did think the Jack bits in particular were super fun. And Evelyn as a villain, I don't know, I just found something like appealing about that character. I think it's because of a fun fact that I'm going to save for particulars.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Brad, yourself, great summary, by the way. I know it was an undertaking, but you are the underminer. So now, yeah, what did you think, Brad?
Yeah, I think still like the first one a bit more. I do like this one. I would agree. Like I would throw the first one on again here and there, but maybe I just have a better like memory in a way. Like it hit me at a different time when I was younger, 14 years before this one. This one I did like though. As I said, like all the action stuff, especially her on the motorcycle, was pretty nuts. Like it was very visually well done. But I feel like yeah, I kind of agree with Sam, especially after having done the summary. There's just like a lot going on in this movie. I feel like the first movie you very much follow Bob and not really much of Helen. But in this movie, it's like you're following Helen, you're following Bob. Then there's like the little side tangent stories with Edna Mode, and there's some stuff there and here and there with Violet, and there's just like a lot of moving pieces. And I get why they couldn't just like move Bob to the side because like that I do feel like that is an important character. He wouldn't necessarily just be chill, but he also could have been, and then you could have just focused on Elastigirl and that whole story. So it feels like there's like
Cowards.
yeah, a few movies in here. Yeah, they had to have the dude in there. I feel like the movie would have been stronger. Well, not necessarily stronger. It would have been tighter and more digestible if it had been like more focused on Elastigirl. But then we would have lost a lot of really good moments of levity that Bob and Jack and them brought. So yeah, I guess overall, I don't think this for me is like an event movie, but I do think it justified itself. Is that if that's the right phrase I'm looking for? Much like Finding Dory, like I don't love it, but it felt like a story that was like justified. Like they came up with a story that I was like, that was a good movie. Unlike Cars 2, I was like, you know, that one just felt like it was a straight to DVD. This didn't feel like a straight to DVD movie. It felt like a movie that kind of deserved to be made. And so yeah, I enjoyed it, but yeah, I would go back to the first one first. Yeah, sorry, Sam.
When it finished, I feel like I was like, I'd take another one of these. Like, despite not like being like, I'm like, I do like the superheroes, and like, I hesitate to say the world they've made because it is again kind of like sparse. But I do like this like cartoony version, like Tung was saying in the beginning of this cast. Like, we have Marvel and we have like whatever, but this is like a Pixar stylized like superhero world that I like seeing, and that's the thing. Like, so much of this movie that I liked is the visual parts. So I'm like, yeah, I would take more of this because like maybe eventually, like I don't know, it'll have it all. Yeah,
it'd be cool if they did one that was more focused on the kids. Like even in this movie, they could
Frozone. Give a Frozone movie.
Yeah, Frozone.
I have something to say about that too.
Yeah. I feel like they could have almost, in a way, had Bob get like abducted by the screensaver, or like Helen is basically fighting Bob in a way through like there's plenty of things they could have done to like make it more Helen focused. And I feel like they could do something like that if they were to do a third one where like Bob and Helen are captured or something, and it's like the kids are the ones that have to save the day and band together and
Spy
work
Kids.
together. And yeah.
That's okay, all right, I'll give my opinions on it now. So when I watched this movie, I liked it. I remember liking it. I just told you guys earlier in this episode that I liked it, but then I forgot about it. This time around, I think I liked it less. That's kind of where I landed with it, but I am also in the camp that like I think more Incredibles is a good thing. I like the world that they have in Incredibles. I think it's an enjoyable watch in the way that it's just visually kick-ass. Like, if anything else, it feeds the part of my kid brain of superheroes going pow pow, you know, like all that other stuff. And you're seeing a lot of like vibrant colors, chases, and just cool stuff going on. Like, I think that stuff is just up-notch to level in the way that, like, I remember in Incredibles 1, we're talking about like how it was like the first human one in like for Pixar movies. So they didn't get a lot of like, the tech wasn't all there yet. Like some of the stuff looked cool, but like in this movie, everything looks good, you know, and it shows. And I think that's a good thing. The thing that like doesn't resonate with me as much, and I think Sam and Laura and you guys kind of all talked about it, but like the threat, the message, whatever they're trying to say, the commentary, if you will, was unclear of what they're trying to really get across. We talked about it with like the fake Sokovia Accords, like the whole like superheroes are bad or good. Like that's the villain's motivation, this whole idea that heroes are not good and they won't always be there to save the day. So to not really explore that more is kind of like a disservice to the villain, because the villain in the first movie had a very clear motivation. And I talked about in the first movie where Syndrome is like, to me, like one of the most well thought out villains in movies in a lot of ways, because he has a reason to be such a dick, and you see it and you feel it, and they show it. And in this one, Evelyn's she's just not there. Like she's not there enough to really care as much about her. Like she feels to me like if you ever watch Dark Knight Rises, Talia al Ghul, they do like a little twist at the end where it's like, oh, she's the bad guy the entire time. And then she loses very quickly. It's not as bad as like in this movie where like you find out Evelyn's kind of bad like halfway through, but like they don't really build on any more of that as the movie goes on, or at least not in a way that's like significant or satisfying to me.
I would say it's even further in the movie when you find out she's bad. She like hardly has any lines until like 3/4 of the way through the movie.
You forget there's a girl boss moment though.
True.
Where they say nothing to each other.
And here's where I might disagree with you guys in a way that like I think the first movie, the best parts about the first movie is that it was like all the nostalgia for the first movie is coming back now, where like in that episode, I talked about how it was like the blueprint, the template of how Fantastic Four should be. They've made a lot of failed Fantastic Four movies with 1 and 2, and then that reboot, and there's another one coming. Hopefully it's good. But Incredibles somehow did it. They showed how a family of superheroes can work. That whole dynamic between everybody and the push and pull between just being a family and also trying to be superheroes. Where this movie falls apart for me, maybe not falls apart, it's kind of a strong word, but like I think the best parts of Incredibles 1 is when they showed the family doing shit. And we got that at the end of the first movie and we got there, but in this movie they separate them again. So where it's just Elastigirl only, which is fun, but without the rest of the family to prop up her and the rest of like what's going on, like it just feels like I want the whole family working together. That's what I want. And we get that again at the very end of the movie, but it's kind of again the thing where it's like, okay, the kids came back at the last minute because the parents weren't competent enough to like, save the day again. So the kids have to like clean up the mess. I don't want a movie with just the kids. I want the family to work together to like solve the next crime in the next movie, hopefully. So that's kind of where I'm with it. Like the whole movie's like also they're trying to show, I believe this because I also read this in source material, but like the movie ultimately is trying to talk a lot about family and single parenting as well. Like the struggles of being a single parent, and also to show like what it's like to be a mother who can have a life outside of just being a mom. That's how I felt like the Elastigirl was supposed to show us, was that like she is more than just being a mom. She is also, I guess, her job, but like her passion is, I think, is if you want to take that a step further, like her true other love in life is like her work as being a superhero. And I think the movie doesn't go hard enough to really bring those parts together and make everyone realize what the movie's trying to do with that. Yeah. So it comes off. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, at the end when she says like I miss Jack's first superpower, I'm like that feeds into that theme. But again, the theme is wishy-washy throughout. It's
wishy-washy, right? So like they had to just commit to a thing, and like I don't ultimately hate the Bob stuff. I really just hate that he had to take a step backwards to show us this part of what being a single parent can be. But again, like I think the movie in my head, which doesn't exist, would have been better if the whole family was just working together and trying to find out how to be superheroes together. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like you said, I feel like they didn't really like commit to things. Like even with Helen and Winston, or not Helen, Evelyn and Winston, like Evelyn could have just been the boss. Like they didn't need to have the brother-sister relationship, but I feel like they were like, well, a girl can't be the boss of this company. We need like the brother there. And like she would have got more screen time that way. We already kind of suspected it was like him. I don't know. Yeah. There's a lot of things. And like I feel like the themes, like the overarching theme was definitely like the hero thing, but they seem to always be changing, like what Bob was after and then what Helen was after, and then it was this, and then Screenslaver's there, and yeah, it was just a bigger movie, but there was.
It felt like it had a lot it wanted to say, but then said nothing.
I think it said, if anything, it said a little bit about family and what it's like to be, how hard it can be to like raise children on your own when your significant other is out working or whatever it is, and
that was effective.
Tiny things, you know what I mean?
And I think
the
that
moment
worked.
with
that
Violet and the dad was good. I think it was actually that was like the most real and tender moment of the movie, which, you know, in The Incredibles, they don't really have the gut punches like the other Pixar movies. But in that moment, I was like, okay, this is good. This is like a nice father-daughter moment. And then they moved on, right? Yeah.
It was successful at showing like being a parent is hard, but I feel like that wasn't the only thing they set out to talk about, and so that's where I was like, yeah, focus on that.
Oh yeah,
like,
I know. Well, I mean, like, I'll get it. We should move on because,
Yeah.
But I will say that, like, it is odd to me that they have I'm just surprised that they had a whole villain that's called Screenslaver, and yet feels like there was like such an easy in to try to make a commentary on like how screens in the 21st century are like, you know, we're all like glued to our screens and we can't get away from it. But they didn't. I mean, they didn't need to. Obviously, the movie is already too busy. But it just feels like, why was this her thing? Like, why did
because it was an easy pun.
it was because it was an easy pun, right? Yeah.
Yeah, when you were bringing up how cool the name is, I was like, yeah, that's the only reason, like, this
I know. It is, any other movie would have been Screenslaver. It's because we're just glued to our devices, man, and we could easily control. Anyways, it wasn't that.
I think the reason they didn't do that is because this movie is set in like the 60s, 70s kind of thing. Like, they're not tied down to a specific year, but they just didn't have screens in the setting of the movie.
I guess so. Yeah. Anything can happen in a superhero world.
Yeah, they could fast forward.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get really quickly into the source material, which is, I want to talk a little bit about like the demand for The Incredibles, which was like, everybody wanted a sequel to this movie. Ever since Ratatouille, which Brad Bird also did in 2007, apparently like people just kept asking him, being like, when's Incredibles 2 happening? When's Incredibles 2 happening? And like, respect to Brad Bird in the way that like he has bits and pieces of ideas, but he doesn't want to commit to anything until he has the idea. And that never happened until like way later, right? Yeah. So I think that's a pretty cool thing for him to be like, there was like quotes of him being like, I'm always thinking about it, but I don't have it yet. And when I have it, I'll let you guys know. So that's like a really, I think like fun to hear like an artist say that kind of stuff. Respect to him and like loving these characters so much. Integrity, that's it. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have for like source material. Like, he wrote it, so like it's just yeah.
An original story.
Original story. Here, he said something here. He attempted, that's the word, to distinguish the script from superhero films and superhero television series released since the first film, focusing on the family dynamic rather than the superhero genre. So that kind of goes in hand of like what I was saying about the movie. But I think his intention and what happened in the end, at least to me, it didn't align, you know? And this movie like got like 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. So like at the time, it was like people fucking loved this movie. But I just still don't think it hits the highs of the family dynamic of the first movie. That's all. But
the hijinks. Yeah,
exactly. Let's go right into Pixar particulars. Laura, what do you have?
I've got a few particulars. Did you know that this movie was actually supposed to be released after Toy Story 4, but production moved so fast on it that they switched the order? And I just think that's notable, because when does any project ever move ahead of schedule?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Especially in animation where it's like multiple years to make something.
I guess when Brad Bird gets going, he really flies. It won Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. Oh, remember how in Good Dinosaur we were talking about how great the clouds were? So great they used them again in this movie. They are the same clouds.
They were good, so.
Yeah. Sam and I were drooling over Winston Endeavor's home that the Incredibles were living in this film. And it is actually based on a house that was used in the film North by Northwest with Cary Grant. It was the home that the villain, or the antagonist, Philip Van Damme, lived in. So now I kind of want to go watch North by Northwest again, just so that I can be reminded of that house. There's some interesting clothing stuff in this movie. Jack only wears clothes when Helen's home. I guess another indication of Helen's general competency relative to her husband's. And speaking of her husband, Bob, his clothes change in color to reflect kind of his mood or his experiences. So as he's struggling more and more with Jack, he's wearing, or with being a father, I guess, he's wearing more and more beige, whereas when he gets back into being in his element, he's wearing more vibrant colors. Another clothing related one is that our pal Edna's 2 outfits in this film are meant to be influenced by the designer Elsa Schiaparelli, which I think is very cool that they used a very influential woman designer to be the person who like indirectly dresses Edna in this movie. I hinted earlier that there's something about Evelyn that I was like, oh, I think this is why I liked her. And it's the animal inspiration behind Winston and Evelyn. So allegedly, again, no fact checking on this podcast, Winston is meant to be like a shark. And that's probably meant to make us suspicious of him, which I think some of us were in watching the movie the first time. And Evelyn is meant to be more like a cat. And if there's things we know about cats is that they can be very appealing and likable, but they can also be quite vicious when they want to be. And I was into like that fuzzy side, I guess, of Evelyn in the beginning, where I'm like, she seems like a warm friend you could curl up beside with a cup of tea and just talk about life.
She's definitely supposed to come off as like
she turns
cool
on you.
Friend.
Very cool.
But she
very,
doesn't care what she's dressed as, but she's like laid back because her hair's all messy all
like
the time.
So easy. Like I feel like every time they show her, she's like sitting on a couch with her legs tucked under her or something like that. Maybe I'm imagining that.
We also didn't talk about her like design, but I remember people bringing it up when it came out, and I was reminded of it as soon as she came on screen again. It's just how much she looks like the girl in Megamind.
Yes,
I've never seen Megamind.
So much. Oh, Laura, it's fabulous.
I think we've talked about this a few times on this podcast.
I'm sure. Anyway, look, you don't even like if you just like Google Evelyn Devner, it's like comes up with the Megamind beside her. Like they look very similar.
Very similar.
I'll have to Google it. Or I guess maybe watch the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'll wrap up with our, the themes that we see through many of the Pixar movies. A113, it shows up in a few places. The front of a train, an office in DevTech, and in the movie theater marquee at the end of the film.
Wow, a few ones.
Yeah. We see the Pizza Planet truck next to the building where Screenslaver was captured, where kind of Helen kind of lands beside it, which is notable because Brad Bird did not include a Pizza Planet truck in the first movie. And when asked about it, he said, I was too busy making the movie.
Oh, right. I was going to say, is it because he's the pizza delivery guy that they caught? Like, that's who they caught.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Totally. I didn't see it, but I guess the Pixar ball or the Luxo ball is pictured on Jack's crib.
I missed all of them this time. I sometimes catch like one of them.
Yeah, me too. I also missed it.
And of course, our pal John Ratzenberger is the voice of the Underminer once again.
He kills it.
Fantastic.
I love that guy.
Every time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Laura. How about we go right into the animation angle? Sam, Brad, what do you got?
Sam, anything?
I don't really have much to talk about this. Every time we kind of talk about a sequel, it's like, oh my God, their faces can move so much more. So that's like obvious in this one. It's like 14 years later and they probably have a bajillion more nodes. So they express a lot more, look a lot better. But like, yeah, we're kind of in the thick of everything looking amazing now. So nothing too crazy.
Yep, that's pretty much it. Basically, the few things I found were this was apparently the first time that they used physically based human eye models on the characters, even though they're like cartoony. I didn't really dive further into what that means. I kind of assume it means they've got like the cataracts and like they modeled it to like refract light like a human eye would to give them more emotion and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. I would assume that they would be using that from now on. As Sam mentioned, basically a lot of it was like the models are so much crazier now. And one of the things which I remember we talked about on the original Incredibles was their use of deformers and how they had to like by hand manipulate, say, Elastigirl, where when she flattens or goes into the parachute, they had to like by hand craft that shape with the 3D model, which was very time intensive and took a long time. But now, because technology had gotten so much better, all of that was built into her rig, so they could more or less just have like a slider. And so that's why like Elastigirl is just far more dynamic in this movie. And just like Spider-Manning all over the place kind of thing. So it's all just in the build now, which is very cool. A quote that I got from Brad Bird when I was looking for stuff was that he wanted to stylize the design, but not the physics and light of the movie, which I kind of feel like is in general Pixar, Disney, DreamWorks to an extent. Specifically Pixar, though, they really like to stylize everything, but then give it like very real physics, very real lighting, very real textures, but it's like very cartoony, and it's a unique kind of edge of the knife that they're walking, I find.
Frozone's ice is a good example of that. Like Frozone himself is very cartoony, but his ice looks very real, if that's like if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I read that quote. I was like, oh, that's like basically more or less Pixar movies in a way. If you just look at Toy Story, like their whole thing was that they wanted to craft like realistic looking toys that come to life. So they're stylizing the designs, but keeping the physics and the lighting real. The last thing, which I wasn't sure if it'd be in particulars, but I read apparently Jack Jack has 17 powers in total. I couldn't find a list of all of them. The ones I found, I think I totaled like 8 or something like that. So
interesting.
Yeah,
I think
there's like 17.
He didn't. Oh, I could be making this up, but I thought in like the first movie he like turned into like a heavy object, but he didn't do that in this movie, right? I don't know.
He becomes on fire in the first one when he's holding him in the air, and then they drop.
But then
him.
he like turns into like a heavy object to like drop syndrome a little bit. But he doesn't do that.
Yeah, he turns
here.
into like lead or something.
Yeah. Bah, whatever.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's statistics including powers from the first movie as well.
I would assume it is, and including the short.
Oh, like, and the short.
Oh, is there new powers in the short too? Do you see?
I think there's maybe like a few.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a few.
Okay.
But yeah, that seemed like a lot. And yeah, obviously all the simulation stuff is like insane on Jack Jack, as I already mentioned. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for animation stuff. Like Sam said, technology moves, things are more complicated and cooler and more powerful.
Their seizure tech is incredible.
Developing it for years.
Yeah. All right, let's get into 5-star, 1-star. 5-star, 1-star. Here's one. 5-star, Jordan Hood. Great movie. Now, can we please get a Frozone solo movie?
Yeah.
Preach. Jordan Hood knows what's up. Do we actually want that? Because then they would show Honey, his wife. But Honey's whole shtick is that we don't see her, and she's just like,
maybe they wouldn't show her.
I don't want them. She should never be shown. I don't think, because her whole thing is really funny.
Her name is actual Honey. They reveal in this movie. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
But in the first movie, he's just like, Honey, where's my super suit? And in this movie, Helen's like, say hi to Honey for us.
Yeah, that is fun. That is fun. There's no "where is my super suit" type of line in this one.
No, there is the moment though, which I didn't cover, where he's like, I don't know, he's like, I gotta leave ASAP or something, and I don't know. She's like, they got their little banter in this.
They do have a banter.
They do have a banter. That's why she's funny.
Yeah, it's great.
This one's Ayushman Lachiramka. Sorry if I said that wrong. Seems like a real name. A very fantastic Hindi film. This is 5 stars, by the way. I don't know how this is a Hindi film, but this is what this person said. The best movie I have ever seen before. In the movie, my favorite character was Jack and his sister. I am waiting for the next part that is Incredibles 3, launching in year 2021. I have saw all the parts of Incredible till now, the year of 2020. A very nice children movie. I hope all people like this movie. The Incredible. No S. Providing a decon-recon switch of the golden age of comics that director Brad Bird grew up reading. It was critically acclaimed and developed quite the cult following. 5 stars. I don't know what he's trying to say, but there's a lot of words. So yeah, here's some 1-star ones. Shane Whitehurst. Lines in the movie promote the hell out of it. I'll be damned. This movie would work just fine without the language. 1 star. He has a problem.
Language.
Yeah, because there was a line that says promote the hell out of it and I'll be damned.
Oh.
And he said it's 1 star. You know, the movie's great, but like it lost him because they swore a little bit. Yeah. Lauren Moose. I used to like this when I was 12, but now I hate it. Caps lock. Watch the Barbie movie instead. Okay. All right. Sure. The last one is Emil Sensotello. This is long, so I'll just try to condense some of their points here, but I'll start off with just reading it as normal. This movie is super overrated. I'm not surprised why Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 90. It's because tomatoes are not fresh anymore. The movie's VFX and graphics are so good and excellent. Lightings and shadows, light leaks are all excellent, except for the storyline and plot. First, an Elastigirl and Maglev train scene. Why did she eject the head of the train from its body when the train moves backwards? It doesn't have an impact at all. If the head of the train is the cause of making it run backward, the two components won't separate from each other because the exertion of force was coming from the head. In reality, it should not decelerate the whole train. Second, there's 6 points, by the way, but I won't say them all.
She's stealing all my hot takes.
Why does Mr. Incredible can't just be happy with his wife? A husband won't do such things to their loved ones. That's their second point. So far, I'm agreeing with some of these points. Third, Elastigirl with the ambassador's copter scene. When she broke inside the helicopter, she went to the pilot's cabin and pilots the vehicle. Why would you do that to the two professional licensed pilots? Another thing is that she told the whole crew, including the two pilots, to protect the ambassador and ejects them all to the river without the ambassador. What a wise move. So I'm just like, okay, this person's... Some of these are like okay points. Anyways, there's 3 more points that they make about Jack and the raccoon fight, about something about the crusher uncrushing the hollow pipes. You don't have to hear it. It's a whole thing. And when all superheroes got unhypnotized, why they didn't hand a help to turn the ship. That's their complaint, is that when they all got unhypnotized, why didn't they help more? I think they helped, right?
They were helping.
They're helping.
I mean, I feel
Boyd
like
was like shooting her in the air and...
But anyways, so this person makes 6 long points, like long points about like what their complaints are, and it's a 1 star. But overall, I enjoyed watching the movie with its excellent graphics. 1 star.
They're a tough critic.
Yeah, this is person's, they don't really know what a 1 star actually is. But anyways, let's go right into hot takes. Hot takes. Brought to you by Jack's
Flaming Jack.
Demon form. Yeah. Flaming Jack. Laura, what do you have as your first hot take?
I can't believe the name Rick Dicker made it past producers.
That's pretty good. Brad, your hot take.
No real hot takes. I was basically just thinking about how Jack's fire simulation is better than like all the Fantastic Four movies with Human Torch. But that's pretty much it.
Nice. Sam, hot take.
I would like to see a reality series starring Tan France and Edna Mode together.
Oh,
I'd watch that. Right?
Tan
we
France?
could call it France Mode.
Yeah, working title.
Yeah, working title. I don't think we
title.
should call it France
You're
Mode.
right. You're right.
Hot take. They should have shown that other designer in the movie, right? Like they should have shown Edna's, I guess, would-be rival, the other person who made Elastigirl's suit. And I think it would have been fun to have them have like a fashion designer off or whatever like that. Because she was like, I hate that person, but we never see that person.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Feels like a wasted opportunity.
Maybe that person, hot take, is Frozone's wife.
Oh.
And that's why we don't see her.
Or okay. Laura.
In one scene, we see Violet's clothes, but no body. And another scene, we see her head, but no clothes. Make up your mind.
Yes, that's true. That is true. That's fun. Sam.
Nada.
If anything comes to you, Sam or Brad, let us know.
All right.
I have some that I've kind of glossed over. I'll say 2 in a row because this one I kind of alluded to. But isn't Syndrome such a better villain? That's barely a hot take, but come on, Syndrome.
Syndrome had way more like you said, screen time and character development in the movie, though.
Stakes. His villainy was way more villainous, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I also liked about Syndrome is that he also pointed out fun superhero tropes before they were like, you know, like he like calls out monologuing and and you get the cape thing going on too. Like, I don't know. There's just more like fun tongue-in-cheek stuff going on with Syndrome. Here's the question. Here's the hot question. Elsa versus Frozone.
Oh, that was one of mine too.
Like who wins in a fight?
Who wins in a fight?
I think Frozen 1 Elsa would lose to Frozone, who would lose to Frozen 2 Elsa.
Oh, it's tough when you're saying Frozen and Frozone.
I mean, Frozone is like more used to combat than Elsa. Like he fights people, but I don't know.
Doesn't
Elsa's
Elsa
just
fight in the second movie?
Elsa is a whole element unto
Elsa
herself.
could literally create an army, though.
Yeah.
She makes snowmen
It's true.
come
She
to
can
life,
make
so she
sentient
could just
things.
like have a whole army.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So she wins.
My this is a little bit of a tangent. I swear I won't take too long with it. But my nephews were over the weekend, and they're a huge Pokemon craze, and they're talking about like how Mewtwo can kick anyone's ass, essentially. And for some reason, it was brought up that Mewtwo could totally take Elsa, and obviously Laura and we're just like we're taking Elsa's side because
Frozen 2 Elsa. Frozen 1, she hadn't come into her powers.
I just think it's a
properly yet.
silly like what this Pokemon versus Elsa. But let's go. I think Elsa could take down Mewtwo. That's my hot take. She's a whole element. We talked about this. She's the element
true.
of ice. No,
I don't know. She's
Don't-
like the
Did they
mystery
say-
Don't
element.
question it too
Yeah.
hard.
it's the unknown. It's the
Don't
unknown.
worry about the lore.
Laura, what do you have?
Bum, bum, bum. Oh, there's one character in this film who fucks, who we forgot to identify, and that is Elastigirl's trench coat. That coat looked good. That coat had no right looking that good.
Her trench coat.
Her trench
When did she
coat
wear
in the
the
scene
trench
where they
coat?
sneak out of the house to meet Endeavor for the first time. Did you see that trench?
Apparently not.
It could have sponsored Hot Takes tonight. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, wow. Okay. That is a hot take. I have two more. Pixar employees for this movie definitely watched those Elastigirl videos online.
Yeah.
Are those in the Ant Cast folder?
I think so. I think so. I mean, we talked a lot about it a lot in this episode, but I want to hammer it home that every time Elastigirl enters the scene, it's just her ass. Like
Always.
you just
There's
see her
one-
ass first, and then she's walking,
Yeah.
and lots of hip swaying. It's kind of distracting, even though
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
nice.
one scene where she's on all fours on the ground and something's happening, and I was like, "Whoa, this feels like also questionable."
Even when she's on the motorcycle, which she has to lean back a lot for, it's very Catwoman and Dark Knight Rises again, that type of like, here's an ass shot. Anyways, Pixar employees are gross, and yes, it's in the Ant Cast folder for sure.
Tung, earlier you were trying to think of a villain name for Frozone, for when he puts on the...
Oh, you found it? You figured it out?
I came up with a few options. We've got Mr. Cold as Ice, Snowmore Mr. Nice Guy. I think probably the easiest one would be Frozombie, because he's hypnotized, so he's kind of like a zombie. But my personal favorite is Blizzturd.
You came up with all this during the episode. That's why you were typing furiously.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Here's a hot take. Laura, you might not like this. It's my last one. But turtlenecks are so not in.
Incorrect.
Tony riding her, like he's just
Yeah,
that
I
little
know.
dink wearing a turtleneck, and
He's such a dink.
he's such a dink. And he makes me single-handedly think, I don't think turtlenecks are in.
So first of all, I think Tony is a perfectly respectable and seemingly nice young man. Second of all, turtlenecks are in. And third of all, we don't shame people for their clothes, whether they're in or not. Wear what makes you feel good. And turtlenecks clearly made Tony feel good.
No. These are two separate points. Tony is a dink whether he has
He's
a
a
turtleneck
wiener.
or
He's a
not.
nice young man.
Let's pull the room here. Sam, Brad, Tony, what are your thoughts?
I didn't think he was like a super wiener, but I didn't think he was really. I think Violet could do better.
Brad?
I think he's a wiener because he's supposed to be like the coolest kid at the school. Like, in the last
Guys.
movie they talk about it. In this one they talk like this kid is not cool.
But remember, this is the 60s and 70s when turtlenecks were like what the cool guys who were smoking in basement cafes were wearing.
But he's not smoking, or is he on the sports
No,
team?
but he's a child.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
This kid is smoking those like candy cigarettes.
Oh
that
yeah,
you
the
used to
Popeye,
get.
Popeye stuff. Anyways, find me a turtleneck that looks good on me, and maybe I'll change my mind.
Challenge accepted.
Laura, bring us home.
This movie is called The Incredibles 2, and I think it's fantastic.
Wait,
Fantastic.
Are you trying to
Ass.
oh, I thought
You got
for a
it.
second, I'm getting tired now. I thought for a second you were saying that the movie was ass, but now I understand it's literally just about Helen once again.
Yeah. It's better, but
They call it a dump truck online, a dump truck butt.
in the Ant Cast folder,
Yeah, it's still
Yeah.
in the end cast folder.
it's not very nice. It's not very nice.
No, it's a compliment. It's a compliment.
I don't know if it's very nice though.
What, say you have a dump truck ass?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't think it's going to make people feel good.
No. I don't know.
Do you like
Probably
dump trucks?
I guess not. I guess not.
Dump trucks are cool.
Yeah. I was trying to work in like a BBL thing for Helen, but we won't need to go there.
I can't BBL leave. That's her actual butt.
I can't believe it either. It's incredible. It really is. Let's wrap up this episode. Wow, we talked for a while. You know, at the end of the day, I still had a good time with this movie, enough to say that I would want another one. And I think everyone in this call would agree with it.
Could be fun.
Like, I think the movie doesn't hit as nearly as hard as the first movie. The first movie was like, to me, still, it was like, this is an event movie for sure. And in this movie, it wasn't even the discussion to be an event movie. So that's kind
Which
of
is interesting because I think this was more of an event movie at the time of release than the first one. Like, I think people were really hyped about this because of the wait from the first one.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. I remember it being a big deal back in the day.
Yeah.
But
back in
much
the
like
day,
Coco,
like 6 years ago.
there wasn't hype, and we
Wasn't
said that
there?
was an event movie. So hype really
Yeah.
doesn't make an event movie.
No,
Sure.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not always. But does the next movie generate hype? Does the next movie give you any
Heebie-jeebies? I just got some.
Is it an event? We'll see. We'll see. The next movie, and I'm so excited to talk about this because I don't think this group has ever really, I kind of know Sam's opinion on it, but it is Toy Story 4. We're going back, not into Andy's room. I was going to say Andy's room, but it's Bonnie's room now. Toy Story 4.
Is this the last pre-COVID Pixar release?
Yes,
Yeah, I
because the one
think
after
so,
that is
yeah.
Onward.
Oh yeah. We're catching up. We're catching
That's
up.
what I mean. We're catching up big time. And yeah, like if you're tired of sequels, well, let me tell you, here's another one. And
Here's another one.
here's another one. And you know, we got a string of original content afterwards.
I'm
which I
so
think
glad
is
I'm
pretty
benched
cool.
Yeah.
for this one. I can't wait to talk about it.
I'm excited to watch it again because anyways,
only seen it
we'll
once,
get to
yeah.
it. We'll get to it. But
we'll get there.
let's wrap up this super episode with a little ditty that Laura and Sam are going to sing.
Dun 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 doo-doo-doo.
I was like, da, 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 da.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's my bad, everyone. I'm sorry.
Not that it's Powerpuff Girls. We're getting all of
okay.
our things mixed
Brad,
up
can you
here.
sing the Incredibles theme?
Oh, you guys got me all messed up now.
Dun dun.
Ba-da-da-da. No.
I think it starts with dun dun.
That's X-Men.
That's not it either.
Just sing the regular
No.
one. Just sing the regular one. How the hell does the Incredibles theme song go?
I like wrote it down phonetically somewhere and I'm trying to find it now.
Michael Giacchino, you're a real artist.